The knights rise, eyes locked on the power before them. They roar for the emperor, the man who crushed their enemies and broke the traitorous merchants. They scream his name in glory. They scream that their emperor crushed the infidels, convinced their holy defenders guarding the Messiah himself. The knights cheer, boasting they've crossed seas, mountains, and deserts to conquer 3 continents. A rider looms on the mountain's edge as the knights roar their names, the legendary heroes of Lemurin. Meet Hercules, the first supreme emperor of 3 continents and lord of divine light. He raises his sword as his men roar in admiration. This emperor turned the dying Lemurian Empire into a powerhouse spanning 3 continents. Hercules' story starts in Lemuria, where the young boy runs wild, screaming that this won't happen. Riding horseback, Hercules shouts he never wanted the throne. He's the 3rd prince of Lemuria, a dying empire on its last legs. Emperor Adrian III is dead. His older brothers are useless failures, leaving the throne to him. Now he must step up and rule. To Burke, ruling any nation is pure torture. Meanwhile, Hercules is fuming. His brother's recklessness forced him to take the throne. He dreams of a peaceful life, but the girl behind him calls Hercules selfish. Hercules knows that voice. He's been found. It's Carolina, his childhood friend who always kept him out of trouble. Hercules was livid. He never expected her to go this far to catch him. Carolina chases him, asking why he's fleeing. He's shocked she's still on his tail, but she smiles. She'll never catch him if she stops. She screams for him to stop running and take the throne. He snaps back, asking if she's joking. He won't rule a dying, broken wasteland. Carolina grabs his collar and yanks Hercules right off his horse. Before he can even blink, Carolina pins him down, trapping him instantly. She gloats about catching him while Hercules seethes, gritting his teeth in resentment. The Lemurian Empire once ruled 3 continents as the world's ultimate superpower, dominating war, trade, and culture to shape history forever. Elves built this legendary empire, controlling every priest, woman, and ounce of power. Once the world's strongest, a civil war split the empire in 2. The West was wiped out, and now the Eastern Lemurian Empire is crumbling under constant attacks. Hercules realizes the source of their ruin. 60% of the state is gone, and without farmland or sea access, trade is dead. An old man approaches the field. It's Adrian III, 19th Emperor of Lemuria. The boys bow, reporting that thanks to Ili, everything's going great. If this works, the nation won't starve. He owns the choice and begs the people for forgiveness. They check on little Hercules. As masters of this vast land, they decide the nation's future. Hercules sits silent, buried in his book. Ordered to follow, he doesn't budge. He offers a tour of the lands, insisting the book can wait. Hercules looks up, sees nothing but wheat, and dives back into his book. She grabs the book, claiming the author saw the world's true face. It preserves reality, but she warns that reading can't replace real emotion. Hercules turns away, offended. Hercules spots 2 workers and asks his dad what they're doing. They harvest wheat, grind it down, and bake bread for food. Their hands are already failing. That weapon looks like a nightmare to handle. Hercules points, "Dad, why not use a comb instead of sticks?" Confused, it stops. Everyone else jumps in to solve the mystery and gets to work. Workers cheer. It's so easy, their hands never tire. Even a little girl brags she can now grind multiple corn ears at once. Hercules says stop using one hand, use both and let the fruit's weight do the work. Build a small platform and even kids can use it, he hints toward the girl. Hercules boasts this saves effort and boosts output. His dad smiles, calling it wonderful. A bizarre SQS hum echoes through the room in endless waves. The air goes dead silent, paralyzed by an infinite nonsensical melody. No one questions it, the world just stops to let this strange chord take over. He shyly admits he read it in a foreign book, and his dad beams, proud of his smart son. Nothing in the archives, but Hercules is hiding a secret. He's a secret tech genius and child prodigy, spoiled by a father who granted his every wish. That knowledge traps him and overhypes his power. Now, Carolina demands he finally become emperor. Hercules blushes as Carolina presses against him, awkwardly telling her to get off because she's too heavy. Caroline won't climb down or he'll bolt. She feels something hard below, but a panicked Hercules suddenly starts screaming. Carolina begs him to be emperor, certain he's got the skills, but he shouts his refusal. He'll never rule. Hercules dreams of traveling. He's hoarding knowledge now, refusing to become a servant of this country. He demands she step down, declaring the emperor won't take his freedom. She wonders if he's truly rejecting her, catching Hercules off guard as he weighs her words. Carolina vows to protect her father Adrian's former kingdom, desperate to finally see Hercules' new Lemurian empire for herself. Sobbing, she admits her dream, Hercules on the throne. He jolts, asking why she's crying. She stammers through sobs as Hercules steels himself, swallowing his tears. He tells her Carolina's coming along. She relaxes, asking if he's serious. He pats her head, promising to grant her every wish. She asks to read the forbidden martial arts book and he lets her. She invites him for tea and he agrees instantly. Finally, she asks if he'll become the emperor. Silence. Hercules stares her down. She waits for his reaction, eyes dry. She grabs his skin and drags him screaming across the dirt. Carolina declares that true warriors use any weapon to win, just like Hercules' father always said. He gasps her name, then screams to the forest in horror. She betrayed him. Before the masses, he claimed the throne and became emperor. Hercules slumps on his throne, rips off his crown, and snarls that this country is unbearable. He fumes over the trade deficit and shrinking borders. The kingdom is dying and he can't fathom how his father died ruling such a wreck. Freedom was short-lived, now his life as emperor begins. A shadowy hand looms behind him, followed by a floating, long-haired silhouette. She insists she already told him he's the new emperor. She taught him about the other world and now prays he succeeds. His isekai knowledge isn't his, it belongs to a Japanese man named Sarari Ishishichi. He survived every challenge so far using only his knowledge from another world. This demoness is behind it all. Blood-stained clothes, long dark hair, and a terrifying grin frozen on her face. He asks how long those headaches lasted. He was a naive fool in his past life, but knowledge is power. The demoness calls him the future hero, shares her high hopes, and vanishes. Hercules snaps under the tension, screaming that he's ready to give up everything. Hercules' uncle, Christopher Augustus, enters with a sigh, claiming Hercules looks nothing like the new king. Hercules is suspicious. The man looks nothing like family, but Hercules points a finger and demands the truth. He's the one who pitched this idea to his father. Hercules prized his uncle over his brothers, but now he's just a roadblock. They share no memories, yet Adrian constantly spoke of him. Hercules talked at 2, read by 3, and cleared the castle library by 4. Now he's sick of the stories. He covers his ears and tells his uncle to shut up. Uncle invented the senbakoki, a high-efficiency wheat harvester that sent their yields skyrocketing. The uncle grins, claiming the people and the old emperor are satisfied. Seizing the throne was the right move. Hercules sighs, wishing for a real challenge, when a panicked soldier suddenly bursts in to report. Uncle jokes a man's here to flip the script. Hercules hates the timing. It's Galphus Galanos, Carolina's father. He apologizes to Hercules, insisting they rule the empire together. Hercules covers his ears, joking that Carolina clearly inherited her personality from him. A man appears, defending Gelphus's behavior. Meet Lucanos Lucalios, leader of New Lemuria. Hercules asks if Lucanus was here the whole time, admitting he feels terrible. Hercules points out his relative and 2 soldiers in the room, then reveals he's the 12-year-old emperor. Hercules stands, declaring the nation doomed. He tosses his crown to the politicians, choosing the library while the world burns around him. Lucano smiles sheepishly, admitting they're stuck and must rely on Lady Carolina once again. Later, Hercules stares out the window, reflecting on being born into a nightmare only to rule a doomed nation. He sees his people's faces, their desperate cries to save the nation echoing in his mind. Use he as it's more natural for a narrator, or keep he. He shuts the book, telling them only they can grant him true knowledge waits beyond the castle, but only these people reveal his true self. Smiling, he says books are the best friends for escaping this narrow world. He checks a new book for his next world, but Carolyn jumps out and calls him an idiot, making Hercules scream through the library. He asks what happened, but she just grins. He's stuck. She yells that he's slacking again, and Hercules fumes that Carolina's been told everything. With so many people, Hercules skips the politics. He forces no one. The title of emperor is enough. Carolina sneered, asking if he knew the first thing about politics. He snapped, demanding she repeat herself. Carolina looked away, muttering that even Adrian called it a total disappointment. She walks away, disappointed. She really thought Hercules could fix the country's finances in one shot. She thinks she messed up. Hercules is only 12, but hearing that, his ear twitches. She keeps nagging him about his father's reaction. Hercules stands up, asking if she still sees him as a kid. She turns and he laughs. Of course I get politics, so how much do you think I really know about this world? Hercules snaps it's an easy fix once he knows the deal, so Carolina asks if he can start right now. Hercules is beyond livid. He vows to fix the empire's finances in 3 years if she insists. Carolina beams, but he sets a condition. If he fixes everything, she owes him a wish. Carolina hesitates but finally agrees, vowing to do anything he asks. He grins, satisfied she folded. Young Emperor Hercules used his wits to conquer 3 continents and become the ruler of divine light. New Lemuria's changed. It now holds 2/3 of the entire world's wealth. The empire's prime location made it filthy rich through transit trade. This trade has 2 flaws. First, the destination's politics and economy. Second, all wealth floods the neighbor, turning the kingdom of Fur into the empire's greatest rival. Hercules scans the massive shelves, grabs a book and devours it. He slams it shut, his mind racing with game-changing realizations. The Lemurian Empire needs a new income source that doesn't rely on transit trade. Leaders cheered, hyped that Hercules was finally motivated. Hercules snorts, staying silent. The crowd stares in shock. They never thought he'd be vulnerable. Uncle declares he's finally a true emperor, and the believer claims they'll save the Lemurian Empire. Hercules just sighs, he hasn't even done anything yet. Dad praises his daughter with a head pat. She beams, but Hercules watches with pure fury. He vowed to fix the Lemurian Empire in just 3 years. He finally realizes his mistake, but there's no going back. Sweat pours down his flushed face. A girl asks if getting rich in 3 years is crazy. Hercules touches the book, promising it's possible. That's how he started exporting goods. Wheat is the staple, but they also grow grapes and olives to produce wine and oil, the empire's top exports. These exports are the empire's main source of wealth. Everyone makes these goods. The First Kingdom rivals the Lemurian Empire, but insane competition means zero profit. He says it's time to finally fix their finances. He's designing a new product for Lemuria, and everyone's hooked. All eyes turn as the maid arrives, pouring tea for every guest. Everyone's staring at the black liquid, but nobody dares take a sip. Hercules sips calmly, daring them to go all out. He was just born. They want to challenge Ymir, so Hercules grins and tells them to go for it. Everyone grabs a cup and sniffs suspiciously until one guy shouts, "It smells weird." Everyone sips calmly, but Carolina's neighbor gags at the taste. The priestess just smiles, loving the energy boost. Carolina asks if it's medicine, complaining it's too bitter, but Hercules says he understands. He grabs Caroline's cup, tries a new tactic, adds milk and stirs it well. Carolina leans in, spotting a cat's face perfectly sketched in the drink's cream. She chills with the cat. Hercules admits he spiked their drinks and demands a redo. They try it again, faces beaming with joy. The friends find it easier to drink, but the priestess preferred the original. Carolina returns, loving the taste. Hercules smiles and points to the cup. This is coffee. They don't recognize the coffee. Carolina asks her dad, but he's never heard of anything like it. Hercules wipes foam from Carolina's lips, recalling he first found this drink on a train. It's a church-grown brew meant to keep ministers alert. Water here is scarce and toxic, so Lemurians survive on wine and long-lasting drinks. Alcohol hits too hard, so nobles stick to Eastern tea, but high import costs make it a massive luxury. Coffee thrives in Lemuria's soil. Since it lacks standard farming rules, branding it as an imperial specialty will make it a guaranteed hit. Silence falls, the priestess nods and Hercules' uncle agrees. This coffee is officially their new special product. He fakes satisfaction but sounds bored, claiming he's unimpressed and demanding an explanation. He's totally clueless. He imported a rare tea set from the eastern Silk lands just for this drink. This white porcelain is exclusive, insanely expensive, and he knows it. Hercules lifts the cup, revealing its Lemurian origin as the stunned crowd leans in to inspect it. The priest calls it impossible. Only the Eastern Silk country has this tech, even great empires lack it, let alone Maria. Hercules just sips his coffee, totally unfazed. Hercules explains this is 18th century London bone porcelain. Ignoring their confusion, he reveals the secret, that pure white color comes from ground animal bones. Hercules is blunt. He's swapping their signature black porcelain for white, and even though it's just an experiment, the result is breathtaking. Hercules' uncle leapt up, shouting that something insane was happening. Sipping coffee, the uncle admits he thought Lemuria was stuck in the past, but this tech is next level. Caroline's dad is floored by the sudden, incredible display. Hercules paid the porcelain master a fortune to rush the job. He needed out of the palace fast. He tells his crew the porcelain is still flawed and coffee is running dry, leaving only a few beans on a napkin. Hercules needs cash and porcelain experts to sell bone china and coffee sets to the elite. Hercules grins, declaring coffee and porcelain the empire's new exports to the crowd's roaring approval. Carolina sees a chance to fix their finances, and her dad's hyped to start selling immediately. Hercules realizes porcelain and coffee won't change the world until they secure a total monopoly. Even if they succeed, the empire needs 5 years to recover, but he knows he only has 3. He stares out the window, noting only the paperwork remains. He scours the castle's books, then hits the board to draft with a ruler. Exhausted, he paints and recharges with coffee. 3 months of digging through paperwork later, he finally finds the answer. Papers litter the floor. He scans the notes. War spending and bad taxes tanked the economy just as he suspected. He gathered everyone for negotiations. Hercules announced they were ready to start. He apologizes for the surprise, but it's time to strike the empire now. The staff sits in shock. Is this normal for a 12-year-old? Hercules sips coffee while Carolina glares at anyone doubting him. Hercules kicks things off and spots a new face. Nervous, the boy introduces himself as Crowell, today's record keeper. Hercules grins and asks Kroll about their taxes. Kroll listens and starts explaining. He breaks down the 6 imperial taxes: land, poll, trade, import, military, and service exemption. He confirms their salt monopoly. Hercules thanks him and tells him to keep it up. He stands there cruelly, relishing the praise, while Hercules recaps the tax system. Hercules demands the poll, trade, and import taxes, salt monopoly, and servant fees be scrapped or overhauled. Shock turns to chaos as the crowd panics over tax collection after the abolition. Hercules silences them, promising an explanation. Uncle Handsome explains the poll tax, a list of every resident the empire taxes. Hercules asks Kroll for his take on what he's seen. Crow mocks the crowd of women, but Hercules roars back, there are too many disabled people too. Taxes here hit men hardest, while women and the disabled pay way less. Since it's all on paper, families just lie about their gender on the forms to slash the bill. An attendee argues checking 10 million people is impossible, and Hercules admits he's right. Horses can't talk, so people fake being blind or deaf to dodge taxes, and it actually works. Hercules demands the politicians confirm the truth. Their terrified faces spark instant panic. Hercules sips his coffee and declares, if a tax system can't collect, abolish it. Silence falls as they trade where he looks. Crow watches these loudmouth bureaucrats, once non-stop talkers, suddenly lose their voices. Hercules asks Kroll again, how is trade tax collected? He notes that rates depend on profit and the type of goods. Hercules grills Kroll on the profits. Kroll offers a verbal explanation, but Hercules snaps that words are easy to fake. Kroll is at his breaking point. Hercules says traders cook the books, trade taxes fund the treasury, and every penny earned belongs to the state. Hercules won't budge on trade taxes, but with labor and time costs so high, a surprise inspection is too risky. This plan needs a rethink. Hercules scans the tax list and finds total garbage, import duties killing trade for pennies and taxes on freeing servants who haven't existed in ages. Why keep these ancient, useless laws? Hercules vows to scrap both taxes, but Kroll remembers 4 others being axed or reworked instantly. Hercules hits the salt monopoly on the list. Instantly, everyone freezes. Hercules explains how Hadrian's policy secured a new income source for the empire. To cover tax losses, the empire jacked salt prices to 30 times the normal rate. Salt was essential at any price, but Hercules just uncovered a shocking secret. A priest approaches with a tray and the elites panic. They know exactly what's in the bag. Crow is clueless, so Hercules has Carolina taste it. She confirms it's salt, better and cheaper than the monopoly's supply. Hercules says this smuggled salt beats the imperial monopoly. It's dirt cheap and on every table in the empire. Street-sold salt means someone's pulling the strings. These politicians are all hiding their true faces. Hercules threatens the men, demanding to know if they're mocking his father's taxes. Terrified, the crowd breaks into a sweat and looks away. Carolina's father draws his blade as Hercules asks the crowd, does everyone here buy the empire's salt? Kroll panics at the official's reaction. One thought hits him, are they all buying smuggled salt? Dead silence fills the room. Hercules grins and apologizes. The crowd snaps their heads up, stunned and confused. Hercules calls the system a broken mess meant to fix tax flaws and scraps it instantly. The crowd freezes in horror. Hercules even offers to ignore the salt smuggling. The crowd tenses up, hanging on his every word. Hercules drops a catch and the room explodes with theories. Hercules suggests a merchant union. Everyone's shocked, but Kroll starts thinking. Hercules reveals standard methods let merchants fake profits, making them untraceable. Unions slash profit checkers and let traders police each other, helping authorities finally restore economic order. Critics worry unions hike prices. If one rate is fixed, won't everyone else jack up their prices for profit? Locals despise trading, calling it a dirty game of tricks. Hercules is outraged. He can't imagine making a living like that. Hercules tells merchants to unite and sell smarter when buyers are scarce. Spike the price and the goods just rot. Everyone knows the merchants have a secret union, so he suggests exploiting it for their gain. He greets them like gentlemen, snaps his fingers and reveals a new tax system. Everyone's paying up. Uncle hands out flyers as Hercules declares there are no rulers here, only those ready to restore the Lemurian Empire. Hercules tells them to challenge his choices, but they just scan the files in dead silence. Hercules sees their shock and admits they're underpaid. Fix the finances and he'll personally guarantee a fair salary. Hercules grins, rallying everyone to unite and fight as one. The crowd hypes up, firing off questions to uncover their secrets and inspiration. Fierce debate erupted, raging for 3 days and nights. After constant refining, the new tax system launched empire-wide. 2 years since the tax overhaul, the empire's revenue has already surged 15 times. They slashed palace staff costs to save taxes and sold off every worthless imperial treasure. Lemuria's treasury is finally recovering. At just 14, Emperor Hercules has already secured the backing of the empire's top merchants. Carolina's ecstatic, certain he'll fix the empire's debt in under 3 years. Hercules knows it all and asks for a head pat. She smiles and happily reaches out. He blushes and panics as she asks if he's sure about the city. Crowds like that will cause a total scene. Hercules says he's still the same man to Carolina but a stranger to the rest of the world. Suspicious, she asks if he used magic. She always books ahead and asks if he's using magic to ditch work, but he promises Christopher's team has it covered. He offers his hand, promising Carolina a tour of Lemuria's 4 landmarks. Stunned, she blushes. They hit the museum, the first stop Hercules wanted her to see. Carolina's stunned by the art and asks what this place is. Hercules brags he built it all himself, leaving her floored. He asks if she remembers opening the warehouse during the audit. He planned to sell art to refill the treasury, but these historical relics were too precious to lose. Selling them would surely bring a curse. He says there were so many they put them on display. She listens closely, scanning the room. She stops at an item, asking if it was ever in the national warehouse. Hercules says this is private noble land. It was meant for art, but the aristocrats insisted on flaunting their wealth too. Hercules grins, charging an entrance fee for everyone. It's time to rake in the cash. Carolina's silence enrages Hercules. He glares, stunned. This isn't the reaction he expected. A she-devil pops in, agreeing that women hate bragging. Hercules snaps at her to stop appearing unannounced, but she shrugs it off as friendly advice. Carolina thinks like anyone, but she's too immature for art. She suggests a simpler approach and Hercules starts weighing his options. Hercules moves on to the street market, his old favorite haunt. Everyone's busy selling bread, washing clothes, and sorting grain. Carolina approaches, stunned by the energy. She's never seen a place this lively. Hercules says since Lemuria held 2/3 of the world's wealth, its markets have always been packed. Lacking a draw, they built a museum next to the market, turning every visitor into a customer. He says smiths can forge a custom souvenir with her name and date, and Carolina is thrilled. Carolina credits Hercules for the lively vibe. He agrees, offering her a handful of beads to inspect. Hercules shouts her eyes outshine rubies. She blushes, but he offers to buy her anything she wants. Carolina refuses, saying it's too much. She awkwardly admits she doesn't need it. Born a Galanos, she was raised for one purpose. Her soldier father trained her only for war, all to protect Hercules. She smiles, insisting none of these beads would suit her, even if he gave her one. Hercules asks if she's rejecting the emperor's reward. An awkward silence follows. Confused, she yells that's not what she meant, but Hercules laughs and insists she just take the gift. He tells Carolina she looks gorgeous in anything, making her blush even harder. She turns away, telling him to stop teasing. He just smirks, everything's going to plan. Carolina heads back to the jewelry and spots a necklace with a massive dark stone. Hercules asks if she likes something, but she snaps nothing and storms off. Hercules thinks showing the half-built aqueduct is pointless, it's just a bridge carrying water over a ravine. He plans his next move as they watch the races, Carolina beaming with pure, childlike joy. Carolina's mesmerized by the chariot races, finally living her dream. Hercules knew she'd love the spectacle, and she agrees everyone loves a good show. Chariot racing is the ultimate test of trust between rider and horse, a high-speed clash where man and beast compete. Carolina's certain everyone will love the thrill. She gushes over the red comet Chanatus quadriga, a legendary winning jockey, while Hercules just gives a short nod. Heroes wave goodbye as Carolina sighs, calling the race over. Trumpets blast, she turns to see her father solemnly signal with a falling handkerchief. Riders storm the arena again at breakneck speed. Carolina freezes in total shock. She's totally lost. 2 races are happening at once, but she's certain there should only be one gate. Hercules explains the stadium's new gates while Caroline watches in awe. Broke and falling apart, the stadium is finally getting a total rebuild. Hercules scoffs that rebuilding is cheaper than repairs, but a shout cuts him off. The enemy is right there, it's Chanatus, the red comet. Hercules stands silent as she screams in shock. She can't believe her eyes while he's just wishing he understood his own actions. Seeing Carolina happy, he smiles. This might be even better. Leaving the stadium, Carolina's buzzing. That last-second risk was unreal. To her, the red finally earned his name. Hercules tells her she's forgotten him. Mid-race, she stops and bows low, offering a sincere apology. Hercules passes her, asking for one last walk to the final spot. She follows, wondering where they're headed. Hercules grins, announcing a trip to the sea. Carolina's face instantly falls. Hercules is baffled. This is no romantic promenade, and shockingly, the girl has never even heard of a date. The sea is Lemuria's dumping ground, a foul, stinking nightmare and the absolute worst place to end up. Hercules gets it a date spot and tries to reassure her, but she stubbornly refuses. He nudges her, promising safety, but she resists. Reaching the sea, he tells her to look, and she cautiously opens her eyes. She stares at the sparkling, endless sea, completely mesmerized and unable to look away. She's stunned. The trash is gone and the water is crystal clear. The harbor used to rot with fish waste, but Hercules says the law made it spotless. New Lemuria used to dump its waste straight into the sea, rotting the harbor and sparking deadly epidemics. He built this to solve the crisis, revealing the structure is a wastewater treatment plant. This system filters all New Lemuria's wastewater before it hits the sea. He bans littering, hires a dedicated cleaning crew, and orders all trash hauled far away from the capital. Carolina's stunned. He made a law just to clear trash, but Hercules calmly insists he needs it. He pulls her close and kisses her forehead. He smiles, wanting clean streets for his date with his crush. She blushes, her face burning up. He slips a blue necklace onto her, noting it matches her red hair. She's shocked. It's the one she saw earlier. He admits he'd been watching her and knew she loved it. He says it suits her. Carolina pauses, beams, and thanks him. They stand frozen together as Hercules waits for his moment. He pauses and demands the same. She's terrified, but he just wants a thank you kiss on the cheek. He's worked his tail off for years. His strict discipline and grit are the only reasons this place looks so perfect. He reminds her of her promise to do anything and clocks her reaction. He hesitated. He didn't want to push Caroline, but was it too soon for her to ask for a kiss? She leans in, kisses his cheek, and praises his work. Hercules smiles, blushing hard. She backs off and he thanks her. Suddenly, the wicked woman arrives, joking about the heat, but Hercules snaps at her to shut up, leaving Carolina baffled by his coldness. Someone notices he's missing, but news of his date with Lady Caroline shocks the uncle and priest. The priest says curiosity is normal, but Christopher admits the girl's words make him feel awkward. He used to be a slacker, but after non-stop grinding lately, Uncle thinks he's just earned a break. He frantically scours the files, warning that war could break out any second. Panic erupted as something strange hit Persona Peninsula. No proof yet, but we can't just sit here. We need to act before things spiral. Let's get everyone together and plan. Uncle leads the way while Christopher mocks his clever plan. They enter politely, asking for a moment, only to find a shocking sight. Hercules reads with his head on Carolina's lap, but she asks if he'd be more comfortable sitting up. Carolina and her dad scream in terror, but Heracles doesn't even flinch. Hercules kneels before Caroline, questioning their military growth. One side wants the navy, the other demands the army. They glare. Hercules admits the elders scare him, but Carolina vows to stay by his side and protect him from any insult. Hercules stood up, announcing last year's profits went straight to state enterprises. Fields, forts, and healthcare are vital. Strengthen the foundation first, or you'll never build an army. He demands order while hiking the military budget. Now, citizens must be ready to defend their home. Hercules smirks, admitting he's planned every step. This army is a hopeless wreck beyond repair. The two stare at him in pure terror. Hercules ignores racial divides to raise funds independently, knowing their weak army needs a serious upgrade. Uncle senses chaos on the outskirts. Hercules calls out the peninsula of Persania, he's already onto them. Shady wheat and iron guild ops are confirmed, and merchants are reporting a massive surge of mercenaries. Hercules traced the source of these changes straight to the Persania Peninsula. Persania is so arrogant they think a child king can crush them, ignoring their own flaws and calling the entire struggle a waste of time. Hercules kicked back, calling an attack inevitable. To him, beefing up this weak army was just a waste of cash. He vents his frustrations, so Carolina promises a reward if he strengthens the Lemurian army. Hercules leaps up, rallies Galphus and Christopher and calls a strategy meeting. Christopher thinks it's all too easy. Galphus listens, knowing his daughter delivered exactly what he expected. Hercules announces the reform worked, they've got cash to spare. Lemuria's army boasts 20,000 heavy cavalry and longbowmen, plus 100 warships. It's finally time for war to reclaim our lost lands. Hercules asks for reinforcements, but Galphus admits even their cavalry count has him on edge. They have 10,000 men, but he asks for 20,000. Hercules shuts him down, they can't afford it. Galphus slumps, certain all is lost. Hercules demands a fleet update from Christopher. The navy is solid, but the ships are pushed to their limit and need a total rebuild. Slash the budget to rule the seas. Hercules asks, is it just business as usual? Galphus reveals the fleet hasn't fought in 20 years and they're desperate for an army. Christopher snaps, demanding answers. Lose the sea, lose the capital. He demands fleet priority, but Galphus shuts him down, pushing for a stronger army and dismissing the parasites as no threat. Hercules agrees his warriors deserve the funding. The Lemurian army is split in two. Galphus leads the army, Christopher the fleet. Lemuria boasts 100,000 infantry with allied mercenaries reinforcing their cavalry. Lemuria's elite, adaptable army fueled the empire's expansion, but under Emperor Hadrian III, their numbers plummeted. He ditched the infantry for heavy cavalry and archers, less mobile, but they absolutely dominated the fight. Hercules swapped cavalry for these warriors, a genius move for an army split between peasants and allied mercenaries. Hadrian's ragtag troops held their ground, but bravery couldn't stop the inevitable. With no reinforcements, his men fell one by one as the defeats piled up. Wasting a fortune on horses and armor soon bankrupted the Lemurian Empire. The states broke, and now Galphus and Christopher are at each other's throats. Carolina returns, suggesting mercenaries if the main army is a bust. Heracles considers it but realizes they'll be just as much trouble. Mercenaries only fight for profit. Even the Spanish Habsburgs, loaded with South American silver, drained their entire budget just to fund a second-rate army. Without a real army, they were constantly betrayed. Machiavelli warns that foreign mercenaries are completely unreliable. Hercules realizes Tertia's no longer just mercenaries, but a real army that won't betray like Machiavelli's French reinforcements. Swiss mercenaries died for France, and their national wars prove it. Machiavelli was wrong, mercenaries aren't always the villains. Hercules notes Machiavelli's brutal mercenary trials. A third of his kingdom theories were personal, yet the man had zero military skill himself. He warns that mercenaries will only sabotage their weak army. They must strengthen the main force instead, and Helphus agrees, no more mercs. Galphus points out the fleet's mercenaries can't ride, and Christopher is livid. Christopher calls the ships weak. The army's degenerates trash them, forcing a total rebuild from scratch. They're back to screaming at each other. Hercules warns, stop fighting now or he'll make them kiss Emperor's orders. Everyone shuts up and sits. Hercules smiles, calling them his obedient boys. Hercules refuses to surrender the fleet, knowing they'll never get it back. He demands faster shipbuilding, and Christopher thanks him. 10,000 cavalry is impossible, but he can gather 3,000. He asks Galphus, is it enough? Galphus realizes 30,000 junior officers are the problem. He asks if that's normal, and the answer is yes, every army needs its officers. Hercules speaks his mind and leaves it to Galphus, who obeys, promising to do exactly as he wishes. Christopher targets Prazun, but Galphus warns their trouble. 8 years ago, Persona Core mercenaries betrayed the Emperor, turning into marauders who ravaged the peninsula. They knew the ruler's focus on heavy cavalry left him wide open to light infantry. He expected the same old tactics. Carolina asks if they're invading again, but Hercules reveals the real goal: torture the young emperor and loot the treasury. They're broke and struggling. Hercules hears toxins are ravaging the farmers of Persania. Christopher and Gulfes realize who they're facing. Hercules admits he's behind it all. The Beastman bursts in on a castle cleaner and growls, sensing danger. He grabs her, paralyzing her with fear, and tells her not to worry, he's the king here. Elsewhere, he asks his subordinate for the total warrior count. He learns 10,000 mercenaries, half infantry, half crossbows, joined 30,000 tribal footmen and 5,000 light cavalry. Hugging the girl, he smirks. 45,000 soldiers is a solid start. Hercules identifies the Persis mercenary leader, a black panther named Dalios. The priest strolls through the castle with a stack of papers, looks out the window, and spots Carolina training with Hercules. Every time she looks, they're going all out. Gibbs scans the army and ship intel, then asks the big question: when does the war start? Hercules says wheat and iron are in, so resettlement starts now. They're recruiting warriors, but war prep will take time. Their warriors are ready, but they need ship repairs and more recruits. Everything must be perfect. Meeting over, Lemuria's warriors and masters get the alert and immediately scramble to their posts. Ships launch. Christopher secured the galleys and is now double-checking every detail. He points out the slow ship and orders a mast adjustment to boost speed. Real combat means heavy armor and weapons, so they need to push this vessel to its limit now. Right side ships are stiff, risking a collision with allies, but the flaws are easily fixed as the crew obeys his every command. The training ground is pure chaos as everyone takes a beating. Helphus mocks them, asking if they're already scared. Enraged, he screams that these weaklings can't defend the Empire. The barbarians stole their home, will they really keep running in fear? He ordered them to treat him like an enemy general and attack to kill. No one goes home until he's defeated. Before the war, everyone prepped hard to reclaim the lands lost to Persania. Hercules spars with Caroline to rally and strengthen the troops. They clash fiercely. Hercules finds her defense flawless, a true credit to her noble blood, and dubs Carolina the Supreme Knight. Carolina slashes, he leaps back, but she's too sharp to fall for cheap tricks. She levels her sword, warning that emotions kill knights. He smiles and agrees she is the daughter of Galanos Galphas. He kicks off the wall, asking how about this, as magic ignites his body, supercharging his speed and strength. Terrified, Carolina tries to defend herself, but Hercules shatters her sword with one blow. She gasps as he grins, what will you do now? Carolina triggers her speed magic, blurs in front of a stunned Hercules, and yanks him to the ground. Hercules groans awake. Carolina warns him, breaking her sword doesn't mean he's won. He smiles awkwardly, insists he's lost, and calls it quits, admitting he's no match for her. She screams it's a lie, he was great. She knows the truth, he's a fencing prodigy. He claims he's just an average guy who's hit his absolute limit. Carolina warns that if Kelly taps their spirit contract, even she won't be able to resist. Elves master 3 powers: witchcraft, magic, and spirit arts. Witchcraft unlocks the world's secrets and rewrites reality, making it vital for medicine, industry, and sieging cities. Magic let them build the treatment facilities in record time. Magic isn't sorcery. Sorcery's complex math and chance are too slow for combat, but magic has zero limits, it's built for the battlefield. No matter how hard you train, magic isn't for everyone. Magic has 3 types. First is hereditary, born at birth. Like Carolina, whose innate magic multiplies her speed, turning her into a total blur. Blood magic is strictly hereditary, and the Gallianos family are masters. They turn anything they touch into a lethal weapon, even a simple fork can pierce anything. Inherited magic is passed down through generations. In Lemuria, the emperor's power flows from ruler to ruler, marking the true heir to the throne. This gives Hercules the edge over the elves, crucial for pushing financial reforms on the aristocrats. Finally, spirituality: contract spirits to borrow their power. Spirits are nature's raw power, contract with them to master their strength. Spirit contractors gain a massive edge with this. In rural areas, weather-predicting spirits are everywhere. It's a binding contract, the spirit works but he pays. Every use of its power comes with a price. Hercules reveals his magic has a catch, telling Caroline his spirit won't be much help in the fight. He smiles, asking if it matters. He's relieved Carolina's safe, but she's ready to object. Hercules smiles and offers to head back. Before Tim can ask for help, she reaches out and Hercules yanks her clothes. She falls and he spots her guard is down. Panicked, she tries to bolt. She thought training was over. He asks what happened as her face turns beet red. He asks for max speed, but she warns he'll just fly away from this angle, and he definitely doesn't want that. Hercules mocks her calm, groaning about his tired hands before suddenly collapsing. She begs him to stop, calling the act unfair. Hercules smirks at her shyness, gently brushing the hair from Carolina's forehead. She shuts her eyes, face flushing as her lips tremble. Hercules watches, stunned. He spots his old pendant on her neck. Overwhelmed, he takes her hands and leans in for a kiss. Hearing the priest mention carefree youth, Heracles snaps. She just laughs it off, asking for forgiveness and revealing Titus is calling. Hercules' brother Titus mopes in his workshop, constantly whining about his struggles. He yanks the sculpture out, snapping that he's waited 10 minutes and mocking his brother for showing zero respect. Aunt knows Hercules can't focus while waiting. She claims that despite his masterpieces, he's just a flirt who doesn't live for art. He snaps that he's not like the rest, but Hercules blocks his ears and blames Titan for everything. Hercules found the perfect venue. Titus snaps to attention, ears twitching. Titus calms down, praising the man as a powerful miracle and calling him brother, while Hercules wonders if anyone can really be this stupid. Titus offers coffee and a seat but stops Hercules from using one specific chair, claiming it's too special for him to understand. Titus calls it the cursed chair. It belonged to an executed serial killer and his spirit slaughters anyone who dares to sit on it. Titus boasts this chair's terror has already claimed over 50 lives. Hercules wants to hang this from the ceiling instead of the usual collection. His partner agrees, put it on display. Titus is the Adrian family's second son. He's an amateur, but he bonds with his brother over art, and even with the younger sibling on the throne, He asks Tita about Adrian, but she says he's still hiding, unable to accept he lost the throne. Hercules asks to just hand over the crown, but Tit warns that doing so will collapse the state. Hercules tells Titus to quit joking, he doesn't need a crown. Hercules built a museum gallery and introduced coffee for a massive energy boost, leaving him zero time for imperial duties. Titus is on fire. After this sculpture, he's got paintings and concert decor to finish for next month. He's so inspired he jokes about needing a clone just to keep up. Hercules calls himself an idiot, then admits he doesn't even know who he's talking about. He tells them to ignore it, just thinking out loud. He once backed Adrian for the throne, but after they split, a simple greeting earned him a glare. Now he's sure Adrian hates him. Titus admits he can't handle this. He's the firstborn but a total failure. He hands Herzog coffee, saying worrying won't solve anything. Herzog has 2 older brothers. Next came Titus and Adrian. Named after his father, Adrian was destined to rule as Adrian IV. Titus's father named him to be the perfect heir, but his love was nothing but a twisted mistake. He spoiled Adrian into a selfish, isolated brat. Hercules used his powers to torment noble kids, forcing his father to cover up his crimes just to keep his path to the throne open. Titus once shredded his painting. Hercules assumes they're fighting over a grudge, but Titus insists there was no beef. Tit shakes with rage, admitting he fought his father over a drawing he showed Adrian. That's when he first heard the word groundlessness. Hercules watches, noting Tit looks like a living corpse. Titus blames his father for his upbringing, hoping the resentment would fade, but it never did. 14 years ago, he attacked 4 noble children, shaking the empire and sparking mass panic. Adrian stayed calm, trusting his dad's plan, but the old man just folded. Titus asks Hercules if it's true, was his father really that determined? After the incident, he finally saw Tit's work, called him useless, and vanished. Hercules asks if that's when the hatred for his father truly began. The first son is worthless. Like the second, war rages while politics stall. With the father stuck, another son arrives. Meet Hercules, born lucky and crushing every challenge since birth. He was his father's ultimate pride. He gave him all his love and forgot Adrian, fueling his hate for Hercules. Titus calls it a happy ending, but a fuming Hercules finds the whole setup suspicious. Hercules calls his dad a failure at parenting, but Titus disagrees. He's living proof of success, having dodged every mistake his older brothers made. Royals are built on their ancestors' pain, but one genius invention could have ended the suffering and fixed the economy instantly. He even built the city's sewage system. Sipping his coffee, he thanks Tito and looks away. Titus wants Adrian dead before he strikes, but Hercules refuses. If Adrian stays quiet, he lives. Hercules wonders why Titus is so paranoid. Titus asks Hercules, will his brother stay quiet or spark trouble by allying with the non-elf nobles? Hercules pauses, admits he knows zero about politics, and asks Titus, what's their next move? Hercules laughs off the uprising. Guilds track every move, making an attack pure fantasy. No assassin gets past Carolina's guard. He grins, claiming a real murder would get him arrested or killed, while Titus asks who else is rattled by Hercules' dark words. Hercules remembers Carolina and asks Titus about his old request, the real reason he summoned him. He hauls the case up, pops it open, and smirks at what's inside. He calls him perfect, just as expected. Titus beams at the praise and asks Hercules where he got that insane design. He followed the specs perfectly and asks if it's good. Hercules gives the thumbs up. Titus asks if Carolina gets this after the reform, but he won't hand it over until the final results are in. A knock at the door. Titus opens it to Christopher and Galphus, who apologize for the interruption. Galphus authorizes 30,000 more troops while Christopher brings the fleet back to max capacity. Titus is still processing, but Hercules stands and declares they're reclaiming the peninsula of Persania. War starts now. Persist sits on old Lemurian land, trading grapes, olives, and marble, but that profit can't support their 10,000 mercenaries. 8 years ago, a mercenary raided 4-year-old Hercules, home after Adrian III stiffed them on their contract. He marched to crush the revolt, but Dalius's forces smashed him. Peace returned, but only after surrendering the Persania Peninsula. Now the Persania Peninsula is an independent nation ruled by mercenaries. At Persania Bay, everyone's chilling and drinking. Someone cheers, what a perfect night. He chokes on his drink as sharp knocks echo from the street, and intruders hear. Panic erupts, everyone scrambles to their positions. No time to waste, get ready. They look out and freeze. A massive fleet is closing in, cutting off the entire sea. A brutal regime rules Persia. Exhausted beggars plead for mercy, but Dalius's soldiers ruthlessly shove them aside. Inside Adelio's castle, a feast of juicy meat, fresh rolls, and appetizers sits before him. Dalius reads the tax cut plea, mourning the nation's crushing poverty. He freed Lemuria, but they blew the cash. Now he mocks them, where would they be without him? He tosses the paper and grabs the bottle again. The wine's solid and the food totally beats Lemuria. A subordinate reports a Lemurian invasion is coming, but he just smiles, he's known all along. Asked if he'd attack Lemuria, he calmly says they have nothing to fear. Their enemy is just a green 15-year-old who's never seen war. As Adrian III's son, he'll likely beg the gods for victory instead of fighting. Result, he mocks that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, asking who planned this unforgettable first war. Wait, he mocks that is slightly awkward. A soldier bursts in shouting bad news, but a furious Dalio grabs his head and slams him into the table. He smirks, noting their intrusion distracted him. Now lunch is ruined. Bloody and shaking, the warrior apologizes to his commander. The Empire has already invaded. Everyone stares in terror as Dalius freezes in his tracks. He bursts in, demanding to know what's happening. Soldiers report a surprise attack, but the commander snaps. He already knows, he just wants to know exactly where it started. It all began at Persania Bay, the Lemurian Empire's first target. Trembling with rage, Dalius sighs bitterly. It's all clear now, Hercules is a total rat. Crassonia had no ships, killing the land offensive. One vessel could have stalled the enemy until backup arrived. His men urge him to call the soldier, but he snaps that he already knows. In Persania Bay, they've only got two paths, his fortress or the capital. He's at the fortress, but the long march in heavy armor will drain his men. A sharper strategist than Prince Adrian, he won't make reckless mistakes during a surprise attack. To stay in the plus, Delio predicts he's heading straight for the top. He mocks their naivety. Thousands of lifelong mercenaries and 2,000 archers man these high walls, this fortress isn't falling. He orders a counterattack at the walls to break their momentum and minimize damage, but a panicked soldier suddenly screams for the commander. The soldier screams, the capital walls are breached. He stares at his subordinate in total disbelief. Horrified, he questions everything. His intel says Lemuria shouldn't be this strong, yet it perfectly matches the capital's unrest. Was the uprising timed? How is this possible? Dalios realizes the truth, there are traitors among them. Panic grips the streets as citizens revolt and swarm the soldiers. Crowds scream to flee, they won't let taxes kill them while the rich feast. They scream to end this pathetic resistance. The empire can't keep winning, they need to focus and stay calm. A man screams for silence, claiming Lemurian rule beats this misery. He wants the army out, but the soldiers are already barking at the crowd to stand down. Disaster, a soldier stabs the captain, killing him instantly, a total betrayal from his own man. Soldiers swarm and execute the commander. Now alone, the soldier orders the gates open for the imperial army. Hercules laughs from afar. He knows the panther's right, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He smugly asks how it feels when the apple squeezes the tail. Christopher, Galfa, and Galonus stare in silence while he grins, clearly proud of himself. Carolina tells Hercules the invasion was a breeze and asks how he pulled it off. Hercules brags it was simple. He flashes a money sign, claiming it rules all, while Carolina wonders if cash truly determines everything. Dalius hired mercenaries raised in the same hell. They're fiercely loyal, betray them, and they'll hunt him down for revenge. Still short on defenders, Dalius recruits more foreign mercenaries. They lured them with double pay, but he saw through their plan 3 months ago. Galphus calls him a briber, mocking his loyalty. Heracles fires back, reminding him, trusting mercenaries always comes with a heavy price. Hercules bribed mercenaries to infiltrate the city and spark a massive revolt. Carolina asks how civilians pulled this off. Christopher explains they've hated Dalios' tyranny from the start and their rage only grew. Galphus Gallienus could have rebelled with mercenaries, but recruitment takes too long. Now the gates are already open. 4 months ago, Hercules knew this invasion was guaranteed to succeed. He tells his crew they're ready and moves to face Dalius on the perfect battlefield. Galphus eyes Hercules for a reaction, but when questioned, he panics and waves it off, claiming he meant nothing. He bows, admitting Hercules is a first-time commander. His orders were flawless, but this win is a miracle. They need to dig in and hold this ground while they still can. Hercules laughs. Is the imperial general really hiding behind his daughter? Is he that weak? Hercules corners Galonus, confidently declaring that victory is finally theirs. 8 years ago, the empire ruled Persania, and merchants confirm the land hasn't changed since. Galphus wondered if Dalius bribed the merchants too, but Hercules grunted, claiming he's just being careful. He whips out a scroll, a map of the Persania Peninsula. He found it while dozing in the library. It matches the merchants' intel almost perfectly. Dalius attacks in 2 days. He stations archers on this hill, using the river as cover so they only need to defend the front and back. Gelphus Galon must buy time for the warriors to dig in, helping the outnumbered squad hold their ground. Hercules tells Galphus to chill, swearing he's nothing like his father. Galphus is stunned. At age 4, Hercules' father dragged him to his first battlefield, already suited up in heavy armor. After endless defeats, he mastered escaping while constantly clashing with his father. Hercules sees Dalios as a clueless leader, yet he's crushed the empire twice. Still, he can't win alone. Hercules is ready for Helion's strategy. Let's talk tactics and witness this victory together. Gelphus stares at Hercules, then kneels and bows, noting how much he's grown. Galphus Scalionus demands the win, vowing to claim victory for Hercules' honor at any cost. Hercules calls the Happy Galley a firestorm, counting on him to deliver. He understands. Hercules stares out the window, replaying the bay ambush and the capital's fall. Gallienus from Galfa was right, everything is moving like clockwork. Dalio warns panic is coming. The infantry has 2 days to reach the northern city and finish prepping. Christopher's guarding the bay, 2 days until war, and their doubled army is set to profit. The demoness sees he's awake and offers help, but he coldly brushes her off. Persania's panicked soldiers scramble to defend as Dalius spurs them on. He's done being Lemuria's puppet. Dalios is fuming, screaming that Hercules underestimated him and vowing to kill him. Hercules calculates Dalius's next move. The triple attack rule: you need 3 times the numbers to break a defense. Defending is easier, but attackers hold the edge, they choose the time and place. By picking the battlefield, attackers always seize the initiative. Hercules promises a tactical masterclass, calculated strikes and smart defense to guarantee victory. Carolina asks if the enemy strikes first, but he counters that either side can seize control and dictate the fight. He can't get a clear read on them. They aren't defending or attacking, but they could strike at any second. Dalius's government earned the city's hatred. He rules by fear alone, his fatal flaw. Once the mercenaries realize they're doomed and alone, they'll ditch the war and Carolina asks why the soldiers shouldn't stay by their leader. Hercules scoffs to mercenaries, war is just business and he knows it best. They aren't loyal enough to fight a war they can't win. He strokes her head, warning that money rules everything, so trust no one. Hercules claims a patriot's oath is one thing, an entire army of martyrs is another. Delios wants a quick win and ignores insults, they need to bait him. A scout beast spots the Persian army charging ahead. Hercules demands a count and the report is staggering, 40,000 enemy fighters are closing in. The enemies finally show themselves, and the soldiers curse them as traitors. Galphus Galenus points toward the new arrival. Hercules spots a panther flag as Dallio rockets toward them at insane speed. Hercules' front line holds 28,000 foreign mercenaries. 5,000 multinational cavalry guard the flanks, followed by 4,000 elite infantry and 3,000 crossbowmen. The intel matches the bribed mercs report perfectly. Hercules starts counting his army. 8,000 heavy cavalry, 15,000 infantry and 5,000 archers, a massive force of 28,000 warriors. They barely match the enemy's numbers, but stakes and trenches give them the edge. Crossing the river directly invites a lethal storm of arrows. Dalius charges ahead, leaving Hercules no choice but to follow. He knows if this happens, the enemy's raw power decides everything. He shouts, "Today Lemuria's new chapter begins. This battle will rebirth the empire." He vows to reclaim their land and dignity, and the warriors roar in support. Lee glared with pure hate, called him petty, and vowed he'd regret it. He signals the charge, but a herald warns Hercules, the enemy is closing in. Hercules signaled his archers, and thousands of arrows rain down on the enemy. Warriors summon wind spirits to swirl through the arrows. Spirits command the wind, guiding every arrow straight into the soldiers' faces. Dalius laughs, he's using his guardian spirits for long-range attacks. Elves fire 10 arrows a minute. Dalius estimates 5,000 archers have gathered, meaning 50,000 arrows will rain down every minute. He admits their arrows can't pierce armor, but 1,000 shots to the face, that's a death sentence. He does the math, 500 soldiers a minute, 2 minutes 1,000, 10 minutes 5,000 dead. No serious injuries, but the danger's still real. This would break even the strongest. Wounded warriors limp back, begging for help and terrified to die. An arrow pierces eyes and soldiers drop. Dallio glares, hunting for weaklings ready to surrender, then snaps at his men, demanding to know what they're doing. He refuses to waste a cent, leaving the crowd in horror. Shaking, a warrior grabs his weapon and charges back into the fray, the rest following his lead. Hercules senses something approaching and realizes the truth. Run all you want, death is unavoidable. They're holding strong and closing in on the archers. He turns to rally the troops just as Hercules calls for Galphus Galenus. The armored giant Galphus Galenus steps from the shadows, asking to join the fight. Hercules confirms it's his turn. He sends Galphus Galenus and the heavy cavalry there. Soldiers stop them, heavy armor makes crossing the plain suicide. The plan is officially impossible. Galphus confirms he gets it, asking for final proof. A silent nod follows, leaving the baffled soldiers totally in the dark. Hercules asks for the distance. The rider says 10 meters is enough, but a stunned Hercules questions if he's for real. He returns to Hercules, smirks, asks who he thinks he is, and yanks the rope. The horse neighs, commanding the charge, no stopping. It's time to show their training and echo victory across Lemuria. Galphus tells Carolina to cover his back, and she follows from a distance. They scream for the path to clear as cavalry charges. Hercules steps aside, counting. Galiosi's soldiers are oblivious to the coming breakthrough, with one mocking the enemy's overrated horses and armor. Dalios spots the danger and screams to recall the troops, but the clueless mercenaries are totally lost. Hercules hits 10 and commands the fake Modius to shatter the illusion. The seductress unleashes her charm, erasing the distance between them. Soldiers freeze in total disbelief. Galphus Galenus reveals Hercules lost his spirit illusions. Carolina understands and obeys. Carolina Galeona screams she'll rip everyone apart, while Galphus Galeona vows to incinerate enemies with her voice alone. One summons Elijah's spirit, the father calls Ames. Carolina Galeonus blitzes past the enemy as a flaming Galphus charges right behind her. Soldiers burn to ash as Carolina blitzes through, shredding enemies. Haffa and Carlina flank Dalios for the final showdown. Hercules barks for the advance as Carlina and Galphus Galenus's paths merge. Hercules' warriors storm ahead as archers volley. Galfa Scalionus dives into the chaos, crushing anyone in his way. Carolina trails her father, slicing through the final soldiers and shouting to keep moving forward. Dalios realizes they're too late. His custom tech hid those attack routes perfectly. He doubts he's that fool's son. A hawk isn't born from a snake. Dalios smirks, plotting something fun. He orders the sergeant to pivot and focus on treating the wounded. Dalius's soldiers bolt. Helphi's Galionus is baffled. Hercules is baffled. Why did they stop fighting and split? What triggered this? Hercules watches closely, finally seeing the truth. Paralyzed with horror, he whispers for it to stop. Terrified, Carolina warns her father the enemies are acting strange. He agrees and tells her to stay alert. An arrow drills the soldier's eye. Galphus and Carolina Gallienus whip around in horror. Riders drop one by one. Dalius's soldiers are already in position, spears and crossbows aimed right at them. Hercules watches in horror as Dalius orders the crossbowmen forward. Crossbows fire, but the soldiers push through until arrows drop their horses. A soldier falls and enemies swarm, skewering him instantly as he groans in agony. Soldiers push forward and get skewered. Dario orders a charge, but Hercules' warriors hold the line, shouting, "None shall pass." They're running on pure nerve as they ready. Mercenaries shred the archers, sending Carolina into a panic. Galfa sighs, "It's bad, their army is retreating." Squads 1 and 3 are wiped out. The infantry is losing ground and the sergeant begs Hercules for the command. Hercules stays silent. The horrified sergeant calls out, but Hercules is lost in thought. Hercules finally saw the plan. Heavy cavalry was coming to crush them. He details splitting his center, scattering the infantry and backing them with crossbows and spears. He stalls their exhausted cavalry, then a wall of spirits blocks their path. Hold the crossbows and spears, and light cavalry still charges to shield the infantry and trap our heroes. Watching from afar, Deliosa confirms her hunch. Hercules has no backup plan. Hercules says he's used to this, but the sergeant is baffled by his calm in a crisis. Hercules grins smugly, calling Dalios's plan not bad. Hercules asks the colonel for his horse, boldly declaring he'll win this battle. Sweat-soaked and gasping, Carina fights the lister while clinging to her horse. Things look grim, but her father's counting on her. Her horse is spent, but she has to crush these enemies. Crossbowman fires, headshotting the horse. The beast shudders and crashes, taking its mistress down. Spears aimed at her head. She knew she was in deep trouble. Soldiers debated the bounty on the enemy commander's head. The thugs dismiss her as just a kid, but their leader recognizes the daughter of legendary fire racer Galphus Galionus. She's a walking goldmine, and they immediately plan to auction her off. A soldier smiles and suggests seeing the commander, but Carolina Gallienus snaps, decapitating him in one move. She won't let trash talk ruin Hercules' plans. She charges, Hercules rallies his men, and the squad follows their trusted leader, leaping down the mountain together. Delos laughed, mocking their march to certain doom. Lemuria only had 10,000 soldiers, and a few more wouldn't change a thing. He freezes in horror. A field packed with soldiers stands before him, and Dalius has no clue what's happening. Terrified soldiers scream they didn't sign up for this. The pay isn't worth it, and they all bolt. Warriors charge, but Dalios calls his men fools and orders them back. The enemy is just an illusion. Ignored, Dario screams in shock at Lamoria's numbers while his own men desert. He seethes with rage. Dalios drops his sword in defeat as Carolina spots the enemy retreating. Hercules calls out and she spins to face him. He offers his hand. She hesitates, blushing, but takes it as he pulls her up beside him on the horse. She apologizes, but he cuts her off with a smile, telling her she's holding up well for her first fight. She looks up with a question. Hercules listens intently. She grills him for hiding Lameria's massive army, certain an all-out attack would have changed everything. Hercules grins, thinking they're his hired mercs, but Carolina Gallienus watches them vanish instantly. The warriors vanish into thin air as Carolina realizes the massive army was just an illusion. A she-devil appears, demanding a price for Hercules' illusion. He nods, telling her to beat it. She vanishes with a smirk, vowing to return. Hercules tells Carolina killing 40,000 is tough, but once the enemy falls for a fake victory and loses their will, everything changes. Delios is finished. After that loss, his defense is shattered and everyone knows how this ends. Hercules orders a retreat. Galphi pulls back, trusting Hercules with Carolina and the soldier. He turns back, saying he'll be delayed, eyes blazing with bloodlust. Hercules leaves with Carolina, ordering Galon to leave no traces and keep it subtle. Galon agrees, then suddenly bursts into flames. Soldiers surround Dalius, blades drawn. Hercules' first war as Lemuria's emperor ends in absolute victory. Lemuria won with 0 losses, wiping out Persania's entire mercenary force. War's over and the cleanup begins. Medics treat the wounded, weapons are seized and camps rise, soldiers finally get a hot meal in peace. Hercules sat writing in a massive hall. Galfi Galleon approached. "They've brought him," he announced. Dalius strides in with Carolina, facing down Haffa across the tent. Hercules expected a fight, but Dalius stays eerily silent. Dalio knows his men are deserting. Without blood or power to bind them, this defeat was the end. Dalius stares at Hercules in awe, admitting he underestimated him. It's a total defeat, so he apologizes for his pride and begs for punishment. Galphus snaps, mocking the bound hero's confidence, but Hercules just laughs and admits he lost this round. If it was a mid-air collision, he heads back to Dalius for his take. Dalios claims victory, sending Galphus into a choking rage. Hercules smiles and agrees, leaving Galphus and Caroline in total shock. Hercules claims he's evolved since their first clash, surpassing his former self. He reminds Dalios of his promise to confess and demands the peace terms. Dalio offers Hercules all the land, begging him to spare the family he raised since childhood. Galphus and Hercules are stunned. Galphus curses their chaos, but Dalios calmly suggests just sending them away. Dalio honors the loyal few and frees the rest. Surrender to the mob or hunt the emperor, their fate is now in their own hands. Hercules stands and agrees to spare the subordinates. Carolina and Galphus Galonus shout in fury, but he calmly adds that he has one condition. Hercules claims the damage to the empire is immeasurable. His men's heads aren't enough. Even if 10 million citizens kicked his own head around like a ball, their guilt would remain. Dalios bows, asking for his next move. Heracles just smiles. Hercules pledges to be Dalios' vassal, stunning him while Galphi and Carolina watch in horror. Galphus and Carolina demand answers, but Delius loses it, laughing that Hercules is a bigger freak than he ever imagined. Delius doubts recruiting the man who shamed his father, but Hercules just grins. Is it really that shocking? Hercules' predecessor was a failure and Lemuria is weak, so he's hunting for an elite warrior to serve his own ends. Worse yet, only Galvest Gallienus has the experience to lead 10,000 troops. Hercules knows his army is outclassed, so he's hunting for new skills and paying back the rewards his predecessor stole. Dalius warns Hercules not to laugh, that mercenary is a backstabber, but Hercules snaps back, he's dead serious. Dalios asks what happens if he refuses. Stunned, Hercules stares him down. His booming laugh terrified Galon and Carolina. Hercules offers a place in the sun, but Dalios' disgust at being a lapdog tells him everything. He laughs, telling Dalius he should have shot him in the back, just as his imperial blood magic awakens. Hercules looks up and asks who he's facing. Dalius convulses, gasping for air. Galphi and Carolina freeze, paralyzed. Delos is gasping for air, crushed by a power he can't understand. He's just a kid and can't believe this magic is his, thinking it's. Carolina Gallienus collapses, gasping for air. Her eyes flutter shut as she blacks out. Hercules catches her and apologizes. Galonus Galphi clings to the table, gasping. Dalios leaps back, head down and gasping, face twisted in pure terror. Hercules tells Dalius he won't exile his men, granting them new land to settle. Since their old estates are ruined, they'll spend their lives rebuilding and farming it. Hercules smirks at Dalius, asking if he sees where this is headed. Dalios realizes the second he attacked, he was already collared. Hercules grips his shoulders and says, "This is how it's gonna be, I'm counting on you." Dalios stares at Hercules in horrified awe, unable to believe this is the son of the brainless Adrian III. Castle rumors fly, Persania's captured and Dalius is down. Is it true? The news drops tomorrow, prep the victory feast. Adrian, brother of Titus and Hercules, finds out and snaps, trashing the room and screaming in fury. The servant warned, keep raging and someone will hear. Adrian can't believe this tiny nation actually won. He's livid, certain the throne is his alone. Gripping a black cloak, his eyes sharpen with resolve. Lemuria cheers their emperor's return as Hercules leads a warrior army through the gates. Hercules returns home to thunderous cheers as the crowd hails his legendary feats. They cross the empire to roaring cheers, Galvest Galleon with Christopher and Hercules beside Carolina. At the castle, Crow, Lucanus and Titus are already waiting on the porch, claiming they've been there for ages. Hercules returns and asks for news. A tired Lucana says everyone's been grinding nonstop. Persia is celebrating his legendary feats, and Hercules brags that this victory cements his absolute authority. Hercules freezes and scans the area, leaving his friends baffled. He asks Titus where Adrian is. Titus apologizes, Adrian couldn't make it on such a big day. Knowing he hates the spotlight, Hercules respects his choice. Lucanus praises Galaphus's bravery, but realizes she's actually facing Galonus Dalios and screams in terror. Galaphus rudely snaps at Dalios for rejecting Hercules' amnesty, while Christopher jokes about drowning him in a sea of lemurs. Lucanus demands to know why Dalios is here, wasn't he just publicly executed? Hercules calls himself her war trophy, terrifying her, then vows to be her vassal. Titus admires Dalius's physique, but Dalius snaps toward him like a predator, making Crawl flinch. Lucanus questions his choice but credits them for the win. She's already set their banquet seats, let it be. Hercules is stunned. Hercules was exhausted from his journey. With no emergencies today, he finally caught a break. Hercules smirks, today he's finally free to do whatever he wants. Titus celebrates their first win in ages, promising Galaphus his finest wine. Galaphus thanks him. Titus vows to write Hercules' legend over a feast, but the hero vanishes instantly. Titus asks where he is, Lucano says he was just here, and Galphy looks around, Carolina's gone. He frantically asks for Carolina, but Titus instantly knows he's hunting the reward. Carolina awkwardly tells Hercules she's never worn an outfit like this before. She asks if hiding her face suits her. Hercules grins, telling her it couldn't be better. Clad in a maid outfit, Carolina covers her knees and trembles, telling Prince Hercules she's finally happy. She tugs her dress down to hide her legs, but Hercules smiles, telling her she looks stunning. Carolina shivered, turning to ask if she could change her clothes. Hercules snaps her name, reminding her he just explained everything. She turns beet red. Ashamed, she admits she's just a submissive servant who lives to obey her master. Hercules loves her progress, but she's still baffled by how her life spiraled this far. She promised a reward, but never expected Prince Tit to personally prep these uniforms. Every move risks a skirt flip, leaving her mortified, so Hercules tells her to start by brushing her teeth. Carolina asks which tea he wants. He wants black, asking if she sees the red can up top. She agrees to grab the ladder, but Hercules stops her. Ladders are strictly forbidden. He orders her to solve it alone, no magic. Trembling, she reaches for the tea mix jar and braces the base, groaning under the tension. She knows she can't win, but if she lets go of that skirt, she's leaving it to fate. Hercules orders Carolina to let go of his skirt. Blushing hard, she obeys. She lunges for the last scraps, her skirt riding up as she nearly reaches them. She can't let the proud lemur knight face the emperor looking like this, she just wants him to look away. He stares, hungry for more. Carolina Gallianos feels his gaze and realizes she's already his target. Hercules asks why she's taking so long. She claims she's too weak, so he jokes that as an elf she should just jump. He demands she get serious. Will she defy orders just to show some skin? He gave her the perfect royal outfit, and this is how she repays the emperor. Hercules saved Carolina without a second thought, yet she's too nervous to even serve him tea. She lunges at tea with everything she's got to thank him for the help. Her skirt's hiked high, showing everything. She drops to her knees, apologizes for the wait, and rushes to make tea. Carolina spots Hercules hiding his face and questions his company, but suddenly screams in horror as the truth hits her. She brews tea and tells Hercules to wait. He senses her fury, but she stays formal, still calling him sir. He calls her name, asking to make up. She agrees, shoves the table aside, and cautiously approaches. Hercules pats his lap, inviting her to sit. She worries she's too heavy, but he just smiles, insisting it's exactly how it should be. She sits on his lap, avoiding his gaze. Hercules asks what's wrong. She's never this shy during training. Her response, this isn't training. Hercules pulls her into a tight hug, calling her sweet, but she snaps that cheap compliments won't buy her. He apologizes for taking the jokes too far, trying to smooth things over. Carolina asks what's wrong, and he admits the truth. After a lifetime of following his father, he's finally heading to war alone, and the pressure is crushing. The public tracks every political and financial move, so he needs a war victory to win their approval. Victory finally silences the haters, lifting a mountain off Hercules' shoulders, but most importantly, Carolina is safe. Carolina tells him to crash the banquet and show Christ and the officials his heroic glory. She demands he prove his strength like the warriors of old. He doesn't hesitate and steps forward. Hercules is stunned. Carolina panics, apologizing for her loose tongue and failing to address him as emperor. Hercules tugs her cheeks. She asks what he's doing, but he ignores her and pulls even harder. Hercules agrees, she's right, Christ won't judge him for this. He asks her to stay his maid a bit longer. She strokes his palm, smiles and agrees, sealing it with a loving kiss. Hercules and Carolina arrive. Christopher spots Dalios and Galphas flexing for the crowd while a frail crawl cowers behind them. Titus snapped this photo of Hercules pointing right at Christopher as he tries to flee. Galpha grabs Christopher's shoulder, making him tremble. Victory is his. Dallio glares in pure rage. Titus relentlessly adds characters to his painting while a satisfied Hercules watches closely. Hercules toasts a packed hall to roaring cheers as Carlina smiles on. Hercules is out cold when a dark female entity crawls from the shadows and calls to him. He wakes to a demoness sitting on him under a stunning night sky. She's here to fulfill their contract. Hercules wakes up thrilled to be herself, as the devil nearby notes she's finally awake. She smirks, saying she called so many times she thought he was dead. Hercules is stunned, but she confirms they're in her dream. He's exhausted, but a deal is a deal, and it's time to deliver. She boasts she'll get what she wants and kisses him greedily, but Hercules doesn't even flinch. Meet Asmodeus, a former cherub spirit bound to him by a pact, and only he can see her. Forbidden desire cost her wings, turning this former angel into a demon. Ranked 32nd of the 72 columns, she reigns as queen. Contract with her for a massive boost, but she'll drain your mana and life force. Hercules trembles with pleasure as the seductress takes everything, but he begs her to be careful before this ecstasy turns fatal. She's just getting started, but no ordinary person can handle her. Meeting her awakened his spiritual power. He asks when it started and she smiles, since everything remained untouched. 5 years ago, the priest hailed Hercules for his insane speed, predicting a legendary future for the prince. 10-year-old Hercules says his whole family can do it, just hit the library once a day. Lucano almost mentioned the fallen emperors, but bit his tongue. Hercules is sick of his boring routine. Suddenly, a sharp pain hits his head and Luca watches in terror. He's clueless, a vision hits him, places he's never seen in any book or map. Is this even from this world? He doesn't recognize these people or places, but he knows one thing: these aren't his memories. Lucano offers a doctor, but he refuses. He's deathly pale and suddenly snaps, screaming even louder. He skips his turn to rest, swearing her to secrecy. She obeys. Class is over. Lucano says call the maid if you need anything. Hercules focuses, and a man's face flashes in his mind. He's clueless about his identity. Suddenly, a frantic knock hits his door. Hercules demands peace, but the visitor won't stop. He swings the door open to find Medea right there, grinning wide. Is she really new? Didn't anyone teach her the rules? The persistent knocking forces him to the door where she stands tall. This is her greeting. She admits her outfit's a fail, swaps the maid gear for a light robe, and leaves Hercules stunned by the transformation. Hercules slams the door on the she-devil, rattled. She's wearing clothes from his memories. Who is she really? Her laugh jolts him. She drops from above, admitting she loves seeing people's shocked faces. He can't fathom her skill. She notices him drifting into a memory. He's frozen in total shock. They demand answers, but she fires back with the question haunting her: who's inside him? She tells him to relax, those memories aren't even his. She reveals these memories belong to a man from another world. It's his past, not the boy's, and they definitely don't belong to him. He guesses another kingdom, but she shuts him down. It's a whole planet in a different time dimension. Hercules asks how she knows. She reveals she gave him those memories herself. Shocked, he grabs his throat and asks how she fed him. She realizes he's totally forgotten. She injected a man's memories into him during creation as a survival test. The weak soul stood no chance against pure ambition. The loser vanished and the winner absorbed everything. He's finally himself, and that soul is no longer a threat. Hercules takes it calmly. He stops her, still uneasy. He turns and asks why did she choose him. Smiling, she reveals that centuries ago, one man united all of Lemuria and founded its monarchy. He was her mentor, and his vision for a new nation inspired her. She won't let his country fall. He should be dead, but his insane intellect saved him. He's Lemuria's only hope, and she's ready to use him. Priority 1: sign the agreement. She blurs past. He's still clueless about the contract as she apologizes for the late intro. She's Asmodeus, queen and 32nd of the 72 great pillar spirits. Hercules faces a disaster. One deal ruins him. He yanks the door, but it won't budge, fueling his rage. He screams for security and Lucanos, but no one hears. Demonic hands reach for him. She pins him down, revealing it's a dream. He's asleep IRL and no one's coming to interrupt. He resists, but the demoness takes control, whispering the price, his innocence and his life force. She vows to make him a real man, but he's livid. Who'd ever agree to that? She laughs, calling it wonderful. She loves energetic people but wonders how long his hype will last. The rest is a blur. Hercules wakes up in his bed at dawn. He remembers everything, it's all true. Beside him, the devil girl holds him close. She says the contract made him her toy. He begs her to stop, but the feeling of bugs crawling in his gut won't quit. A man sits alone in a dark village alley. A stranger in a raincoat creeps closer. He asks for the goods, but the man demands payment first. He silently hands over a pouch. He hands back the item and walks away, wishing him luck. Raincoat man grips a potion, muttering it's all for the empire. Victory banquet roars with laughter, but Adrian quietly slips into the corridor. He hits the main hall, eyes the crown, and claims Hercules is the emperor. Total nonsense. Calling Hercules arrogant for treating him like a kid, he asks his men if the empire needs him. They nod. Adrian snaps that he was always the chosen heir and lunges for the crown. Lucasen warns that touching her is forbidden, but Adrian doesn't even flinch. Lucano turns to Adrian, who glares with pure hate, fuming over her interference. This is the Lemurian Empire's sacred treasure, passed down for generations. Only the emperor and archbishop can touch it, it's strictly off-limits. Adrian explodes, shouting he's the chosen one and blasting her for daring to lecture the emperor's son. She confirms it, the emperor chose him as heir and he's fully convinced. She warns him one last time, stay away from the crown or her church won't offer a single prayer for his soul. Trembling with fury, she vowed revenge and stormed off with her subjects. Priests gloat that he fled. No prayer means he's branded a sinner, so he's obviously retreating. Lucano stays alert, but senses something's wrong with his body. A massive feast hits the castle. Soup, pizza, fish, and meat overflow the table as Hercules and Carolina Galenus stare hungrily at the spread. The chef prepped a feast at Palazzo Margherita, caprese, calzone, and pasta, all loaded with Hercules' favorite tomatoes. Carolina calls the dish appetizing. Hercules bites into the pizza as the chef eagerly asks for his verdict. He says the dish is better than ever. The chef is hyped, vowing to cook his next meal so well it'll bring tears of joy. He slashed palace and infrastructure costs, dumping the savings into vital needs. They use the empire's freshest ingredients and elite chefs handpicked by my father. This is the world's best food, but there's a catch. He's already done. The horrified chef asks if the food was bad, but he says that's not the issue. He loved these tomatoes at first, but the flavor never changed. Now he's sick of them. He sadly asks if he's okay or wants a change, and Hercules dives into a flashback. He wants curry, so the chef offers care instantly, but Hercules stops him. It's a completely different dish. Curry's a common name loaded with spices. Boil it, fry it, or even add fruit. Cumin, coriander, cardamom, turmeric, chili, and allspice lead the flavor, sometimes spiked with black or cayenne pepper. Carolina's stunned this dish exists, but the chef thinks it's way too spicy. With the ingredients, he can cook it, but the chef's face says memory isn't enough. Hercules sends the cook beyond the empire for spices, then introduces the new chef, Nala. The chef panics, demanding to know why the servant is here. The servant wants curry, so he brought his own cooks and spices from his homeland. He used to serve a master, but the Church of Messi set him free. The head chef nods, he gets it. Cornala shakes the chef's hand and calls him boss, leaving the man stunned by his genuine kindness. Hercules orders everyone to work. Nala obeys instantly, but the head chef stalls for time. As Lima Palace's head chef, his pride won't let anyone enter his sanctuary. He asks to prove his cooking first. Hercules agrees it's a fair deal. He gathers a group at the table to run the check. Hercules shouts, everything's ready. He's assembled the palace's elite jury. It's tasting time, dig in. 7 jurors, all master linguists. He hires Kronel as court chef for show. He wonders how the curry tastes, never having tried it. Galfa's already sampled Sindilian food. Christopher recalls visiting with the former emperor, and Lucano jokes that spiced luxury is forbidden for. Dalio growls, let him try to throw filth. He has no clue what he's in for. She bursts into tears, apologizing for the wait, while he brings out a large lavash and 3 cups. He's picturing butter chicken, spinach curry, kimuli, and juicy tandoori. Galfus catches a sweet scent. Christopher feels nostalgic and memories of the past come to life. Carolina thinks it looks delicious, but Dalios finds it too hot for his cat tongue. Cook watches in silence as Luke tells Chatson they're praying first. Lucano thanks the Almighty for the food. Everyone joins in, praying the meal nourishes their bodies and souls. Hercules cheers it's time to eat. He rips off a chunk of cake and dunks it straight into the first sauce. He savors the bite while Dalius and Carolina watch closely, waiting for his reaction. Nala asks if he likes it and Hercules loves it, telling everyone they've gotta try it. They dive into spinach, cumin, and tandoori chicken. 30 minutes later, the table is picked clean. Carolina loves the meal, Galpheus raves about the flavor, and Christopher confirms it's authentic Sondalian cuisine. Lucanos barely eats, calling the meal a sinless joy. Kragala asks why Dalios isn't eating, but he just smiles, he's waiting for it to cool down. Hainella beams and chats with everyone, leaving the head chef thrilled his food is a hit. He eyes the stranger's meal, hesitant. He hates spice but dips a piece into the curry for a cautious bite. Hercules is stunned by the flavor. It's actually delicious, I expected way more heat. Nala apologizes, revealing it's his own recipe. Hercules is even more stunned. His country is scorching, so they eat spicy curry to trigger cold sweat and cool down. He takes a bite and instantly chills out. He added apples and honey to mellow the spice for the locals. Carolina Hallinus wanted more sweetness, but she still loved the dish. Painless thrilled his home cooking is famous here and loves seeing people enjoy his food. The cook remembers being mocked as a worthless peasant. They said he'd only ever peel potatoes, but while he worked, he secretly studied cookbooks to master his craft. He sadly dreams of the day he can finally cook for the emperor. Hercules calls for the verdict, raise your hand if you want seconds of Cranella's dish. Galonus signals for spice, and Christopher backs him up instantly. Carolina wants the curry sweeter, but Pantera insists it's already perfect. Hercules wants his curry even hotter and loaded with exotic ingredients. Hercules asks the chief. He pauses, then raises his hand too. To cook better for Lemurians, he says she must stop complaining. Nala happily thanks him. The cook rages at the massive order, demanding a heads-up next time, then awkwardly explains it's for tandoori bread. Hercules grins at the spat and orders Cronal to bring seconds. He takes more orders. Carolina, Galfa, and Kimelian all want tandoori chicken. Christopher adds spinach, and Lucino's jokes about their greed while Panther keeps feasting on the delicious food. Chef heads out to prep dessert, but seeing the Nalog triggers a sudden flashback to his past. Staring at his country's crest, he realizes he's obsessed with defeat. He forgot what truly matters, the people's smiles. He moves on, promising fruit desserts to cool down after that hot treat. He whipped around to find Hercules grinning and patting his stomach, claiming he hadn't eaten this well in ages. The boss enters, apologizing for the wait. He serves the desserts and Hercules is hyped. He serves melon, apologizing for the wait. Hercules bites in and loves the juicy fruit. He grins, calling melon the ultimate post-curry treat while Carolina Galenus watches him savor every bite. Nala serves melon, everyone digs in but Panther Dalius stays skeptical. Hercules goes for the final bite but stops cold. A strange liquid is pooling under the fruit. Hercules screams for everyone to stop eating. The crowd freezes in shock as he desperately tries to puke. Carolina rushes to help Hercules but Panther Dalios intercepts, yanking her back with a gut punch. Christopher and Lucano freeze in horror while Carolina Gallionis retches, barely able to stand. Alpha Skelionis attacks Panther Dulius, screaming, "How dare you!" Hercules stops Galphy, the melon is poisoned. The crowd panics, was he poisoned? But someone shuts them up, keep it down, you can't say that out loud. Rumors say his favorite melon was poisoned. Now everyone's panicking, who's the culprit? Princess bolts past her maid, ignoring her cries. She needs Hercules and she needs him now. The servant refuses, the former emperor forbade it. Evdocia, mother of Adrian and Hercules, sees Hercules as the nation's future and is naturally terrified for her son's safety. Panicked and confused, she desperately begs the Lord to save her son. Lucano confirms Hercules' vitals are normal. Relieved, Hercules admits he's lucky he didn't bite the poisoned spot in time. Poison melon? Christopher's stunned. Hercules explains they injected the toxin through tiny holes. Without that silver plate reaction, he'd be dead. He credits Pantera Dalios, but Dalios just shrugs and points out rust on his plate. He points to Carolina, warning someone's devouring her with their eyes, but she just sighs, speechless. Galphus apologizes for snapping after his enemy hit his daughter, and Hercules says he understands. Galpha thanks Pesic for saving her daughter, but he just turns away and farts loudly. Hercules glares at the villain, asking if he really tried to kill him. Panicking, the chef swears he'd never poison the emperor or his food. Hercules cuts him off, demanding to know where the watermelon came from. He points out the boss's tents, revealing Adriana's assistant Domenico delivered them. He met him in the hall near the kitchen and learned they were gathering to celebrate the prince's victory. Galonus is a Galfa noble tied to Lord Adrian. 4 years ago, a tax hike turned him into a monster. Christopher warns that as Adrian's loyal henchman he's Lucano's tenses, finally telling Heracles the crown is evidence. Crowds reeling, touching the crown is a crime, now we know why he skipped the banquet. Lucanos asks about Dominic but Hercules says it's a waste. He's just a fruit trader. Interrogating him reveals nothing. The chief swears he knew nothing about the poisoned watermelon, begging for trust as the palace backs his honesty with a handshake. Hercules snaps that he knows he's being used, but until his doubts are gone, the chef is banned from the kitchen. The chef scowls as the cannoli turns dark. Guards drag the chief and Cranala off. Hercules confronts Carolina. She's poisoned too. He told her to rest, so why is she here? Carolina refuses to sleep while Hercules is in danger. She has to be there to protect him. He pulls her clothes, drops her on the bed, and tucks her in as her face burns with shame. She resists, but Dalius jerks in fear, swinging the door open. A woman enters, apologizing for the intrusion. A worried woman asks how he's feeling. Galon recognizes her instantly. It's Maria, his wife and Carolina's mother. Carolina is stunned. Galfus scolds her for showing up, but she admits she was worried. Hercules says he's fine while Carolina panics, realizing she's in his bed. Grabbing Hercules' hand, she apologizes for her family's helplessness and offers help. Hercules tells her to thank Pantera Dalius instead. He's the one who saved her daughter. She bows low to Dalios in thanks, but he just turns away and snorts. She hoists him up, comparing his muscles to her husband's, while Dalius the panther is totally clueless. Mary offers Hercules bean and garlic soup. He smiles and agrees. Lucano agrees, telling Hercules to eat garlic to neutralize poison. Hercules happily asks Carolina if she'll be staying close. She shyly admits she hates garlic, but he holds out a spoon and tells her to open wide. She tastes the soup, feeling too paralyzed by the tension to help him, while Marie watches with a subtle smirk. She whispers to Hercules that Carolina is still pure, while Carolina nearly chokes on her food. She's worried her martial arts obsession will stop her from ever getting married, but Galon Galfi insists these serious talks are vital for her future. Ari calls Caroline cute, but she shuts him down fast. The emperor is standing right there. A decade after his brother's incident, Hercules' father got strict, limiting his time with his mother. He banned family titles, leaving them as polite strangers, a coldness that remains even after his death. She visits him often but ignored him even when he was bedridden with fever. It's no shock she's missing now, and he tells himself he doesn't care. His mom's voice snaps him out of his thoughts. 9 words, same length. His mom's voice breaks his focus. 6 words, let's go. The servant apologizes for failing to stop her, right as Hercules calls her mother. Christopher warns the princess it's forbidden, but she rebels against the old emperor's decree. Evdokia orders silence while Heracles demands to speak. Hercules orders them away from his kneeling mother. He realizes he's not just feverish, he's poisoned. Of course she'd show up when he's in danger. She's here to discuss today's events and see if they've found the culprit. Hercules is sure his brother is involved but lacks proof. Eudokia looks up in horror. Hercules knows mom loves both, but the brother crossed the line. Now she'll likely act just like her father. Evdokia begs for the king's mercy, catching Adrian off guard. Realizing his mother's true motive, the light dies in his eyes. The crowd watches in horror as she credits Adrian's success to his daily grind, insisting she's only here because she's always cared for him. He was reckless but meant no harm. He's her brother. She begs for mercy. Hercules asks if she's checking on him, but she's clueless. He mocks her. Without evidence, she can't touch him. Hercules tells Doxy he can't ignore this. Adriana's going to trial. She grips his shirt in horror, begging for her son's life. Christopher tries to stop her, but she won't stop pleading for the boy. She screams Hercules' name. He vows to do whatever it takes as his mother freezes in horror. She stands, drops her hands, and walks off, mentioning a monastery. He presses her for answers. She prays for her husband's soul and her son's sins, admitting she failed to stop him. Leaving it all to God, her words chill everyone to the bone. Hercules smiles, respecting her resolve but curious about her choice. As she walks away, she calmly confirms her decision is final. She says goodbye and slips out. Silence fills the room as Carolina Galianos dials Hercules. Hercules orders Galfas, Galon, and Christopher to gather everyone for today's meeting. They obey instantly, and Adriana will judge the council. Adrian snaps, trashing the room with scissors and screaming about his brother's strength and why he won't just die peacefully. Adrian's mom arrives, but he kicks her out, knowing she's only there to control him. He's livid and rallying the elders. If he charms the nobles, his hard work is dead. He is the process itself. Hercules rallies the crowd, warning parents and future parents that their country is in danger. Heretics are already seizing their land. If this keeps up, they'll lose everything. Hercules vows to reclaim his grandfather's throne. With a massive army at his back, victory is finally within reach. Fist raised, he declares war to reclaim his land. The crowd roars, echoing his every word. Tension builds. He glares at a portrait with his father, demanding to know why he was denied the crown. He sits in despair amidst a wrecked room, surrounded by shattered junk and torn curtains. Adrian snaps awake in the dark. He freezes as a floorboard creaks nearby. A short-haired girl suddenly appears, eyeing him with pure curiosity. Adrian stares in awe as she smiles, greeting him and praising the beautiful night. He blushes hard. He snaps, asking who she is, but she just smirks, claiming she thought people liked this greeting. Wings spread, she reveals her name, Jabidi, Archangel and first of the three pillars. Adrian's stunned. He asks if she's really an archangel and falls straight out of bed. She laughs, asking if he's ever seen an angel. He admits he never imagined they'd dress like that. She pulls Adrian close, whispering a message straight from God. She reveals Hercules is heading to Trabuso soon. After crushing the Panther of Dalos, he's got the nation's backing to reclaim every inch of lost land. The nobles met for this exact reason, and he's livid that Hercules is already cocky after one win. Adrian demands their source. She says she found it all herself. She insists she just overheard them, so the group gets straight to work planning their move on Travaizos. Hercules starts with Delios, ordering him to analyze the fallen foe. Delios gets the message and agrees. He blames the defeat on his massive army having no leader. With more backup, they could have shifted the odds and held the line. Delio insists he had no other choice for commander, and Hercules demands to know why. He doesn't trust mercenaries. They're greedy sellouts who flip for cash just like the emperor proved. Hercules proudly agrees. Hercules says a plateau would have finished Panthever, so Dalios asks, who from the fire force leads the charge? Hercules admits he lost because he took his father's land. He backs his choice but warns it's all for nothing if he ignores the country. Expanding territory is useless without leadership. Panther Dalios looks away, embarrassed. Hercules laughs and agrees, but he won't let it slide. He's doing this right, Dalius better step up. Hercules is done with Panther Dalios's take. It's time to hear from the Lemurians directly. Galfas Galonus says Hercules' advice and that battle proved the strategy was flawless. Hercules blames the weapons. Carolina double-checks and he confirms it, specifically the infantry gear. In the Persian battle, most infantry used swords and shields, but one group wielded long spears. These 5-meter series spears are ancient Lemurian relics that crush standard swords in mounted combat. Last battle proved the plan failed. Long spears were useless up close, shattering the formation and forcing everyone to ditch them for swords. Surrounded by deserts and mountains, they face enemies adapted to the wild. If the terrain renders their weapons useless, our heroes are in deep trouble. Weapon splitting is limited. Daggers are useless here, stick with spears. To stop cavalry and block arrows, they need 7-meter reach and shields, but it must be light enough to move and hold formation. The leader asks, does a weapon like this even exist? Everyone froze in confusion until Panther Dalius broke the silence. Why not just use everything at once? Galfas says talk is cheap, but action is nearly impossible. Panaraldios asks if the emperor's interested, what's left for us? Hercules remembers. Terrifying the crowd, he orders the army to gear up and train non-stop until showtime, and Gibril hears everything. In Adrian's room, she breaks down their prep. He calls his brother cocky, but the guy ignores soul techniques entirely. Gibril warns the campaign is failing, revealing they'll reach Travaizos by sea. Trapped by the spirit's wrath, they're sucked into the storm's eye with no escape, swept into the abyss to drown helplessly in the chaos. Adrian doubts it's this easy, but she reveals a massive army hit 2 storms in another world, birthing the legend of the god of thieves. Hercules suspects nothing, already amassing an army for war. Adrian shrugged, claiming he didn't care. Jebril glanced at Lee, silently asking if he was okay. Adrian claims his father's throne and the duty to protect the realm are his birthright. He loved his father more than anyone else. Suddenly, the imperial magic ditches him, jumping straight to a clueless Hercules. He was the most hated heir, yet his father, the vassal, and the magic of inheritance all chose Hercules. He loved his country and father above all. He was more talented, but he stripped him of everything. Seeing the seal, his mother forced him to serve Hercules, but the throne and family are his alone. He'll kill the man who stole his life and reclaim everything he lost. Jebril grins, his hard life is over now that the master is protecting him. He doesn't know it yet, but he's destined to lead the empire to prosperity. She yanks him close, promising a special reward to make it happen. Adrian begs Jebril to stop, but she ignores him. He panics, wondering if he's even fit to be emperor. He snaps awake, gasping, "It was all a dream. An archangel, impossible," he mutters. He spots a scroll on the bed, unrolls it, and finds a map to the Trabzon Principality. He's baffled why she's here. A white feather drifts onto his bed. He studies it, searching for answers. He laughs, thrilled to finally drive him out. A man begs Adrian for forgiveness. Adrian's shocked he's awake. It's Dominic, arriving right on cue. Adrian orders Dominic to rally the warriors. Dominic asks if a new army tax is coming, but Adrian shuts him down. It's not about taxes. Adrian reports Hercules is heading to Trebizond, but warns he'll be ambushed the second he returns. Dominic asks if he's starting a rebellion. He just smiles, claiming luck is finally on his side and God is backing him up. He rips down the curtains, wraps himself up, and vows to make you feel his life's filth before slaughtering Hercules. Hercules orders his men to execute the plan. He orders the final prep, vowing to reclaim their lost lands, while Christopher guarantees it's handled. Hercules' brother already tried to kill him once, and he's coming back for more. Carolina grips Hercules' hand. He turns, meeting her fiery gaze as she vows to stop this. She smiles, expecting his failure, while he's certain he holds the world in his palm. Hercules steps onto the balcony, the crowd below hanging on his every word. Hercules calmly spills the truth while Adrian stares out the window, lost in thought. Days pass and Hercules' plan is in motion. Everyone's buzzing. The council never mentioned this, but Gabriel's prediction was spot on. One mystery remains: the prophetic image from Prince Adrian's dream. Adrian hates the title. The guy sees his face, panics, and begs for mercy as the entire room freezes. Adrian demands his father pick him over Hercules. He's the true emperor and the god's favorite. This message is a reward for his suffering, a gift from Archangel Gabriel he refuses to lose. He claims they'd be better off without his brother, and the crowd nervously agrees. Adrian asks the Bulgarians, was trading with him really that hard? The Bulgarians are single-race nomads harboring royal elven nobles. They trade sheep but face Lemurian oppression because Hercules hates their trade deals. They spill everything, but Adriano just smiles. He gets them without words and wants to unleash their wildness on the battlefield. A loud knock pisses Adrian off, but a servant bursts in, shouting that something massive just happened. He shouts that Hercules and 40,000 Lemurians are submerged in the RTLC zone. Panic strikes. Did the ship sink? Through the haze, Domenico asks Adrian for answers. Suddenly it clicks. Adrian realizes it was all a message. He calls his crew the best of the best for ignoring his brother's speech. He steps forward. The moment is here. Rising from his brother's defeat, he honors their glory. He claims the throne as the crowd roars for glory. Adrian's certain he can kill Hercules himself. Hercules follows the sea map back to port, and they'll meet him on the nearby plateau. He'll yank him off the horse, gouge those crying eyes, and take his head. He's building a massive army, picturing Hercules answering for his crimes at his father's grave. Standing with his warriors, he watches calmly. He grins, joking he's late again and that this tiny squad is barely worth noticing. Hercules' army is closing in. He grins greedily. This is the moment he's been waiting for. Today is the day. He waits for Hercules' smug grin while his warriors stand ready. From afar, Hercules spots Hadrian. Adrian stares in terror. Where did Hercules get an army this massive? The sergeant's clueless. Reports say they should be dead on the seabed, but Adrian notices they look way too healthy. He's certain the Archangel is never wrong. They should have sunk and faced the sea spirit's wrath. He can't believe those picky sea spirits actually like Hercules. He asks what they can even do. Watching from afar, Hercules reassures them they're already on edge. He asks Carolina if she sees this, but she awkwardly admits she's holding back. A man appears, calling the scene pathetic. Adrian blindly believed his army drowned without checking the facts. This is Edmund, Hercules' half-brother, and he's disgusted by his brainless sibling. Hercules laughed, calling him brother and apologizing for his carelessness. Edmont is a half-elf military man and paternal half-brother. He guarded the capital during the Panther Dalios War, but now Galfa Scalonus takes over. Hercules wonders why Adrian is so different despite their shared past. Edmund takes it as a compliment, while Carolina adds that Tit should be there too. Titus rejected everything, throwing a fit and refusing to hike. They invoked Hercules' order for a new war, but he was livid. He didn't care about their battles, he was inspired. Stopping his brush now would shame his entire family. He dares Adrian to kill him, claiming dying with a brush in hand is an artist's dream. He's not moving. As Hercules gets briefed, Carolina chimes in, she's certain he's a no-show. Hurley feels cheated and won't budge until everyone hears his demands. He asks Titus to sketch outside the castle. Titus whips around, eyes blazing, he's definitely in. Hercules admits he's easily bought. Edmund just sighs, sick of being surrounded by people like him. Even as an imperial warrior, he just draws trash. Hercules warns that hiding in the castle is suicide. Adabran's men will kill him. Either way, he'll be serving Hercules soon. He watches Adrian struggle to catch on. Poor guy hasn't noticed a thing. Dad groveled to nobles for the throne, while Mom broke the law to bow for her guilt. Adrian was the favorite. He tells his brother he took nothing, but one mistake cost him the crown. Now he's forced to rule the empire his parents loved, and he regrets it all. The raid begins. Dalio reveals this is how they tracked every rebel from the uprising. This meeting let them crush Adrian and his crew, wiping out the plague for good. Hercules skips the slow purge for one massive war to show everyone why you never cross him. Galphus Gallion announces his arrival to Hercules, grinning as he finally snatches the scroll from the guard. Christopher's doing fine but hates missing his nephew's fight. He laughs it off, retreating to the castle for safety. He says to finish fast and bring back souvenirs and stories. Adrian's baffled by Gibril's words. He thought his army was supposed to lose. Her words echo, God is on his side, but drenched in sweat he has no idea what to do next. Fist clenched, he rejects the doubt. This is a divine trial and he's ready to conquer it. He asks for their numbers. They have 18,000 infantry, 2,000 crossbowmen and cavalry, plus 8,000 reinforcements coming from 30,000 strong. Adrian demands the enemy's numbers. Outside the walls, an exact count is impossible, but a standard army usually packs 20,000 infantry and 10,000 archers and cavalry, nearly 4. Adrian understood, the difference was 10,000. He's hyped, victory is certain, and they're finishing it right here on this plateau. A voice warns them to skip the plateau battle. An irritated Adrian wonders who this guy really is. Oscar Allman tells Adrian to reconsider, revealing he's the second son of the Allman family's younger branch. The Almani held Missouri's southern lands for years, becoming the empire's economic backbone. Elves envy the Allmans' massive wealth and the feeling is mutual. They've clashed in violent disputes for years. The Allmans joined Adrian Veng, and second son Oscar is stuck as Adrian's advisor. Adrian's fuming over his side branch status. Now some nobody is lecturing him, he'll listen if the advice is solid. Oscar says he gets it. Numbers are even, but General Galphus Gallienus leads a hand-trained elite army, and he views heavy cavalry as a lethal threat. Their army lacks teamwork and they're still struggling to master their new high-tech armor. Adrian sees no issue, but Oscar insists there's more. Adrian asks what's wrong, but Oscar stays silent. Jabril predicted Hercules' army would sink, but they're actually armed and ready for battle. Sensing a trap, he realizes the plateau is suicide compared to the fortress and begs Adrian to rethink the plan. Furious, Adrian grabs him, demanding to know if he's seriously telling him to hide in the fortress. He's done with his brother's insults. He'll drag him from his high throne and slam him into the dirt. No one commands him, he's the emperor. He slams him down, understood, now get back to your place. He rises silently, asking for forgiveness. Adrian shouts that God is pleased, so don't stop fighting. Oscar left certain Hercules would crush Adrian. Now he just had to mobilize the army. 3 days since Hercules and Adrian's armies finished their battle. Forts are finished, no arrows or stones fly at Hercules' army. War is coming, but the battlefield stays dead silent. At Hercules' outpost, Carolina scans the area while Panther Dalios reports 30,000 enemies. He praises their prep, but Hercules scoffs. Their nobles raising an army like this is light work. In this empire, it's not just the emperor, every noble commands their own private army. Compared to other nations, this empire is a sitting duck. They fought off raiders once, but the threat never dies. Owners protect their property, so naturally the elite hire mercenaries. Unlike the Daclios mercs, nobles own massive territories, controlling a vast network of family branches and loyal vassals. Hercules' new joining forces would create an invincible army. Besides, this is why he hates nobles, it's all bloodlines and inherited power. Blood ties are a sudden massive power, rejecting them wastes a gift from God. Dalio grins, noting it applies to Hercules too. Hercules nods, agreeing it's the truth. Spoiled blood is just water, blue blood is worthless, he's sending them back to God right now. Hercules asks those below for a different opinion just as a new race arrives. Gelfis wonders if the Bulgarians are actually allies, but Hercules drops in and reveals he's the one who summoned them. Bulgarians thrive on surprise, not open war. Baffled by their frontal assault, he sends a messenger to find out why. Hercules reveals living proof. Speaking their tongue, he asks what a young commoner could possibly tell them. He's shocked he mastered the language, but finding a private tutor is actually easy. He smiles, vowing to be a loyal ally. An emperor should know his people's language, right? The general approaches, stunned that this kid is actually Limeria's emperor. Hercules summons Galphus. Galphus tells Galonus it's all on him now, and Galonus bows, ready to obey. Hercules offers to look the other way. The general steps closer, confused, as Hercules proposes a deal. The nervous general sits as Hercules hands over the four-part agreement. The deal: no war, no trade. Bulgaronia provides troops on demand and Lemuria pays annual taxes. He reads the terms, stunned. Hercules warns his nomadic tribe, start farming or stay stuck. Relying only on meat is a dead end. Farming needs tech and grain. To get them, you raid or trade. They're using the throne war to seize everything, but if Adrian loses, Hercules won't give them a thing. They wonder what happened, but Hercules keeps the peace, they're allies. Everyone shrugs it off as a mistake, but they're dying to know how far can he predict there. Panicked, the general submits. He signs the treaty, pulling Bulgarian out of the war forever. Unlike his predecessor, the general is terrified. This man's pressure is crushing and his soul-piercing gaze sees everything. Hercules flashes the contract, sealing the deal. He orders the Bulgarians to vanish, and the general knows one mistake means Hercules devours them whole. Adrian panics, clueless about the Bulgarian strategy. He orders his men to hold back, terrified of an unpredictable counterattack. A soldier reports Bulgaria cut a deal with the Lemurian Empire and is quitting the war. Adrian slams the soldier, screaming insults to prove the nomads can't be trusted. He pummels the soldier, screaming about betrayal as his mind spirals, questioning the point of it all. He calms down, spots the soldiers out cold but still breathing, and grins. He rises, voice trembling, claiming he's fine. With God on his side, things are just getting interesting. This trial is his path to the throne. A 10,000-point gap is a joke, he'll crush Hercules. Biddle says Lemuria's future is on him, he can't afford to lose. Forget stones, it's time for war. Suddenly a soldier stands. Hercules spots the Bulgarians and notes they're actually honoring the deal. This beats those disobedient noble troops. Bulgaria's modern people's army is elite and the biggest obstacle is finally gone. Hercules draws his sword, it's time to fight. He orders his men into position. Hercules rages to crush the merchants, but Hadrian vows to slay the false emperor with God on his side. The assault begins. Archers and crossbowmen flood the sky with arrows, but the warriors charge forward, fearless and undeterred. Arrows whistle through the war as crossbowmen fire nonstop, calling on wind spirits to dance with their volleys. Hercules orders the heavy cavalry forward from afar. A signal flashes and Carolina Gallianus charges in with her uncle and the army. Warriors to stay back so the enemy cavalry gets crushed. Let's go with. Adrian reads the signal and orders his men back to crush the cavalry. They obey. Stepping forward, the soldier begs the wind for protection, praying the false emperor's warrior dies. Mid-battle, the warriors summon wind spirits again, begging for the power to prove their empire's might. Gallian charges full speed, trailing fire as panicked enemies brace for the end. Galona's half passes, turning the soldiers to ash. He laughs, calling them pathetic weaklings. Galphus Galonus warns his steps are unstoppable, as soldiers brand Carolina and Edmund traitors for serving the fallen Semperor. Edmund's moving forward, terrifying Carolina. She demands his plan, but he says he just needs to stretch after being off the battlefield. Carolina backs away in fear. The warriors charge, shouting the boys escaping, "Kill the old man first, then hunt her down." Edmund stares down his enemies, disappointed. He hates being called old just for living a little longer. The soldiers stare in confusion. Edmund just grins, sizes them up, and declares they're first. He summons Ramelius and his spirit, a woman in a patterned hat, to show these soldiers the exit. Dark energy engulfs the soldiers, paralyzing them instantly. Before they can react, their weapons vanish and their bodies freeze solid. Edmund's spirit Andromalius can randomly loot items from 300 people in range at once. The riders realize their spears and helmets are missing and furiously demand them back. Carolina marches toward the unarmed soldier. He begs her to stop, but she doesn't hesitate, instantly summoning her spirit Eligus. "Wait, I can." She and Eligos obliterate the crowd in one strike, screaming that just looking at them hurts. She shouts it's her turn. Edmund's lucky, Carolina's an incredible witch with Eligos, the strongest spirit, fighting by his side. He spots lace lingerie in his hand, looks at Carolina and freezes. He snaps that everything's returned after the fight. Ramalia hauls gear and armor plus the occasional rare find. Dalios brags about his elite warriors, but Hercules just smiles. Their power was forged through brutal training. He planned to send halberd dyers forward, but enemy crossbows shredded the front. Even with shields, it's now a suicide mission. Hercules drops the idea and Dalios agrees it's a smart move. Plenty more chances are coming. Dalius wonders where Titus is, so Hercules calmly points him out. Arrows fly until a massive tiger spirit manifests, its crushing aura overwhelming the warriors as they scream in terror at the unknown beast. Standing by the soldier, the uncle calls the carnage wonderful, telling him to destroy them all. Brush in hand, he stares at his canvas, proud of his masterpiece. Two soldiers shield Titus from whistling arrows as he orders them to keep him safe at all costs. He grabs his brush, calls December, and reveals a new masterpiece, a glowing flower floating beside him. Titus's spirit, Decumberian, wields insane power. His ink breathes life into any canvas, making his paintings literally come alive. Titus unleashes the bird to shred the traitors. A two-headed beast takes flight, ready to strike. Titus orders his eagle forward, praising the beast as it dives, wings spread, using sharp claws to shut down the enemy. Titus grins. It's been ages since his last summon. He's exhausted, but his paintings are stunning. Nothing beats the rush of bringing his art to life. An arrow shreds the eagle's wing. Titus freezes. He was ordered to stay hidden. The enemies realize the animals are just paper. One laughs, mocking them as harmless puppets, but Titus hears every word. He screams, laughing at his own creation. Fine, let him meet his doom. Panter Dalius watches him paint animals, but Hercules warns Tita's strong spirit won't last. His drive will fade after just a few more works. Adrian watches in shock, branding Hercules a false emperor and refusing to believe they've been defeated. Edmund's no threat, but Carolina is a problem. They need to take out Titus. He can't even summon spirits anymore, so why is he still alive? He roars that the crossbowman is finished, ordering a full-scale charge. Hercules spots the infantry advancing and yells, "It's time to move." He sends Tita to the fortress and orders the crossbowmen to scatter. He orders the halberdiers forward. Hercules reminds Panther the right flank is his, and Panther confidently confirms he knows the drill. Hercules leaves the fortress, dying to see his brother's stupid face. Adrian yells from afar, those drums are driving him crazy. He has no clue what Heracles is planning. Both sides are locked in and the board is set. It's the endgame. The final battle starts now. Hercules pulls his archers back from the flanks while halberdiers hold the line to stop a breakthrough. Panther Dalius pulls back his archers, orders the halberds to hold firm, and sends spearmen to guard the flanks. Enemies charge, but brave warriors block the way, stopping them in their tracks. Hercules uses his gift to warn them, save the army and stop the advance. Adrian's livid at their stupidity and orders the light cavalry to reinforce the infantry. They charge in instantly. Gelphus and Galonus watch in rage. Gelphus screams a vow to stop this, summoning his spirit to torch the entire field. Horses scream in terror, ready to bolt, while the soldiers stand frozen and confused. Adrian snapped at Gulf Galonus, shouting that his father's favoritism was insane. No brainless younger brother should ever replace the eldest son. Oscar turns back, baffled as Adrian barks out one idiotic order after another. He reads their movement. He's hitting the flank to encircle Hercules' army. Hadrian's army is falling right into Hercules' trap. If this keeps up, they're finished. He clenches his fists, paralyzed by despair. The warrior drops as arrows rain down, but Oscar raises his shield, tanking every hit to save him. The warrior flinches as Oscar asks to stand. Given the nod, he carefully rises. Mindel soldiers are everywhere, and he won't let their business be ruined. He's saving everyone, no exceptions. He roars to his warrior, they're coming back alive. He steps forward, leaving Adrian baffled. The soldiers freeze and the enemy refuses to budge. The fight rages, a warrior loses a leg as another enemy blurs past Adrian. Adrian's baffled, the archers aren't firing and he has no clue where they're headed. He realizes the soldiers are just passing, panic hits, heart racing. He screams it's impossible, spotting a magic circle. Sensing disaster, he orders his men to fall back. Delphi's galleon's Carolina ambushes the soldiers, leaving Adrian frozen in silent horror. Hercules hears the light cavalry is wiped out. He's thrilled Adrian finally gets it. Legends tell of an old general who crossed continents to corner the Lemurian Empire with his god-tier strategy. Others tried this strategy, but without its true secret they all got crushed. Victory hinges on three keys: superior cavalry, elite troops, and a genius commander. Only with all three can they win. Cunning tactics and lightning speed secure massive wins. Never forget this strategy. Total encirclement. Hadrian's men realize the horror, they're trapped on all sides. Adrian screams for a breakthrough and hunts the archers, leaving his men confused. Hercules drops his hand, signaling the charge. Arrows shred the warriors, killing them instantly. Adrian collapses in agony, whispering in disbelief as the truth hits: his entire army is gone. Surrounding the enemy guarantees victory, but pulling it off is nearly impossible. Crushing the Bulgarian cavalry was the game changer. Hercules neutralized the threat, secured the numbers, and forced a retreat with 0 losses, exactly as he planned. The empire ditched flaky mercenaries to build a professional army. The Lemurians used to struggle against the Bulgars with unreliable sellswords, but now they're training elite troops. Hercules only pulled off the circle strategy by handpicking his generals. Weapon choice is everything. Spears won't outsmart them, and even halberds can't stop this massive onslaught. To be truly strong, you need the perfect weapon. The final piece, Panther Dalius. Hercules can't command 20,000 men solo, but with a trusted ally leading half, the encirclement is a go. Rebuilding from zero, training elites, and ditching foreign troops gives top generals total control of the battle. The warriors surrender and beg for their lives, offering to pay any price. He brags about serving the 77 sacred aristocrats, threatening family revenge, but he's dropped instantly just like the rest. Huddled behind shields and being crushed, they're dead if they don't break out. Someone begs Adrian to negotiate with Hercules, but it's too late. Panic has taken over and Hercules laughs, asking if they see the unfelt, then bellows at Adrian. He shouts his thanks for the chance to recreate this legendary strategy solo. He's glad he let him become his brother, loving his total loyalty and obedience. Dalius is stunned. The encirclement strategy is 1,000 years old, yet this 15-year-old hasn't just learned it, he's mastered it, while everyone else failed for. Elves live 2 centuries, so with 185 years of adventure left, he smiles. He's hyped for the future. Hercules hears him through the link and asks what he said, but Dalius brushes it off as just thinking out loud. Dalius says they must block the path to stop the breakthrough. He warns Hercules to keep the protection up, and Hercules agrees. Panterdio says controlling this strategy is like holding water without spilling a drop, and under this arrow fire, he doubts any commander can rally these panicked troops to break through. Hercules scoffs, without a real leader they're trapped, not even a fly escapes this encirclement. A warrior bursts through the crowd, stunning Hercules and Dalios. It's Oscar, shouting that House Almond won't fall today. He orders the charge and the crowd follows, while Hercules' warriors rally to ensure no one escapes. Hercules asks Dalios if he can break the enemy ring solo. He says survival is a 1 in 100 gamble, but Hercules counters, giving him a better shot at 1 in 10. He insists it didn't decide the fight, but his reputation is at stake. Dalios laughs, noting even Lemuria's top general retreated before, there's no shame in it. Hercules grins, watch closely Dalios, we just found another monster talent. Hercules' army surrounds Hadrian's nobles, wiping them out in a hail of arrows. Christopher's men arrested every commander who stayed behind and refused to fight or fund the army. Rebel leader Adrian vanished during the fortress raid, leaving Edmund with only his helmet. Adrian asks the Bulgarians for shelter, catching the room in total disbelief. Soldier sees Adrian as he screams for freedom and answers. He's desperate to know why this is happening, but his native tongue gets zero response, so he demands an explanation in a language. The Bulgaronian knew the score and refused to help. Adrian tried hiding in Balgoron, but he was busted and dragged straight to Lemuria's court. Adrian's coup failed, his army was completely crushed. Hadrian's traitor knelt bound before him, flanked by Christopher, Carolina, Galfus, and Hercules. Wait, the throne of Hadrian is important, Hadrian. 3 days after Adrian's rebellion was crushed, he and 100 followers face trial. Hercules demands an aristocrat explain why he joined the uprising. He's protecting Hercules from threats within. Hercules demands, if that's true, why'd he crown Adrian emperor? Confused and speechless, he watches Hercules grin and explain he was just yanked away. He shares the room's total shock. Stronger nobles stripped Hercules of his gold and men, but he has no idea who's behind the betrayal. Hercules can't believe his eyes, it looks real, but he's certain it's all a trick. He realizes he's been framed and shouts the truth. Hercules demands to know who did it. He claims a traitor set him up, then goes silent. Galfy sees the truth, he's blaming powerful nobles to save his neck. If he wants to live, he should've. Hercules knows the uprising means death for his family, but he won't betray their generations of loyalty to the Giulianos. Hercules sentences them to 30 years of hard labor. As family head, he'll personally oversee his kin and vassals, that's his final word. He bows low, heart full of lifelong gratitude as they take him along. Hercules will never forget, but he knows in 3 years the world will. He asks the next noble if time tricked him, then grills every minor lord to find a legal excuse to lighten their sentences for several reasons. You can't just kill every noble, the uprising already crushed their families and their power is fading fast. This power vacuum lets younger houses seize control and replace the old families. Hercules is right, the nobles lost everything in the uprising and pose no threat. Their power is dead, so prison, fines, and forced labor are their just rewards. Hercules drops his final point. Adrian's top ally is a political powerhouse and the highest-ranking half-elf noble. He knows they won't kill him. Why? He apologized and is dead certain he's in the right. The court is full of imperial rowers, but many owe him favors. Their support lets him walk free, forcing Hercules to take extreme measures. Hans is a cocky fool. He tries to explain, but Hercules cuts him off with a list of charges. Hans is clueless. Hercules sentences Hans to imperial liquidation, stripping his nobility on the spot. Hans freezes in terror, he never saw this coming. Doomed to a lonely, fiery death, Hercules begs for more time, wishing his agony would last forever. Hans screams this is wrong, he's a highborn noble, how dare this kid treat him like trash, kill him now so he can die with honor. Hercules calls the next mark, he's always aimed for the top-tier aristocracy. He targeted untouchable high-ranking nobles, pinning the younger generation's crimes on them to silence the entire courtroom. These traitorous nobles won't dare cross him again. Rebellion doesn't guarantee survival, and even with new alliances, the young heirs must face the brutal reality of this power struggle. Minor nobles got prison and seizures while the elite lost their titles. He just purged dozens of families from the Lemurian court. Adrian the mastermind steps up. Christopher shoves him hard, sending him face down. He tried to protest, but the crowd shut him down. He was standing before the emperor. Hercules grins, calling Adrian big brother after a long time apart. He wonders, when did they last speak face to face, or is this their first real talk? Hercules says only Lord Dominic told him, then asks if the poisoned watermelon was his idea. He finally saw poison react with silver and loved the meal. Salted melon, sweet tomatoes, and poison, a legendary flavor combo. He hasn't tasted it yet, so he's not 100% sure. This battle's making history. His total encirclement is a legendary move he bets no one else pulls off for centuries. Hercules asks if he realizes they almost won before the Balgoran cavalry retreated. With those reinforcements and mercenaries, victory was certain. Now, Adrian admits he's unfit for the throne. Hercules stays silent, convinced the throne is his alone. He's said it 1,000 times, but because his father gave him everything at birth, he has no right to the crown. He shouts to the nobles, exposing the emperor as a fraud. He demands they dethrone the impostor, declaring this isn't just an accusation, it's a prophecy straight from Arch. He screams that he's the god's chosen, the only one destined to rule the Lemurian Empire. Everyone doubts he met Gibril, the archangel only King Adrian has seen, but he proves it by flashing one of her feathers. Hercules confirms he understands and asks Gabrielle for entry, promising a public oath to the emperor, but a panicked Geraldine tries to stop him. Adrian smirks, warning he'll regret those words as he calls upon Archangel Gabriel to expose the emperor's lies and drag him straight to hell. The hall is silent. She's missing, but Hercules refuses to give up, begging the crowd for more time and swearing she'll arrive. He'd scream Beatty's name over and over, begging her to show up and shouting that she was nearby. Hercules sets 3 conditions, follow them and he lives. First, swear total loyalty to the emperor. Second, admit his lands were stolen. Third, answer for his noble's crimes. He'll spare his life, but only because his mother asked. Voice shaking, he takes the blame and begs for mercy. Hercules calls it a wise move and sentences him to life in prison. Hercules orders him back to the dungeon, but Adrian suddenly snatches his knife. Adrian whips out scissors, slicing the soldiers off him. Carolina pales in fear while Hercules stands stunned, the bloody blades gleam. Adrian tackles Hercules, screaming he's dead. Carolina clings to him as Christopher and Galfa draw their blades. Gabriel appears, declaring his actions forbidden. Adrian freezes, recognizing her instantly. He snaps at the title of true emperor. If he's real, why defend this fraud? The crowd's paralyzed, terrified of his next move. Is he talking to thin air? Gabriel smirks, denying any talk of murder and mocking Adrian as a fraud who will never take the throne. Adrian desperately claims the gods chose him, but she shuts him down and offers to reveal the truth. Gabriel transforms into Hercules' loyal demon, shooting Adrian a smug grin. Realizing he's been played, he screams in fury and curses Hercules, who casually wishes Adriana luck. He brands Hercules a devil and demands his crown back. Galfi Galon is stunned. Christopher warns, never speak of this at his majesty's grave. Hercules brushes off the demoness. With the criminals punished, the banquet goes off without a hitch. Hercules asks a newcomer why he's here. It's Oscar Almond, flanked by Galfus Galonus and Panther Dalios. Oscar bows and begs for mercy, admitting he drew his sword. He's ready for any punishment, catching Hercules completely off guard. He admits he was wrong and won't judge. Galfus Halinus and Panther Dalios demand the bullying stops. Hercules makes a lucrative offer, and an intrigued Oscar asks for the details. Hercules offers Oscar a general seat. Oscar's confused, remembering his time as a traitor, but Hercules admits he's been watching him and the Almond house for years. Their patriarch backed Adrian's coup, getting him arrested and stripped of his noble status. Forced to follow his clan head's support for Adrian, he was stuck on a sinking ship. Their home surrendered, flipping the entire war. Oscar insists there's a better candidate, and Hercules demands to know what he's getting at. Shocked Oscar broke free, he questions Hercules, who confirms he saw the whole thing firsthand. The trap was meant to spark panic and crush their will, but he shattered the ring on his first try. Surrounded by enemies, Oscar stayed ice cold, saving his team while anyone else would have given up. Hercules prizes his leadership. Great armies need elite commanders, and with him they'll be unstoppable. It's his shot to restore his family's honor. Stripped of titles and thrown in prison, the family escaped death, but their leader's spirit was broken and the clan collapsed. He accepts the king's deal to restore the Elman house to its former glory. He ignored his family's crimes, yet I still trusted him and made him my ally. Oscar bows, asking for support as a rookie. Hercules welcomes him to the senior masters and Oscar flashes a wide grin. It's finally over. In the dead of night, only Carolina Galionis and Hercules celebrate the win. Carolina Galionis is just relieved it's over. Hercules reveals that right after stabilizing his father's vassals, his older brother revolted. Who knew being emperor was such a headache? Hercules says hard work makes the food better, and Carolina's thrilled Nala's influence finally leveled up the chef. Hercules snaps, why talk about others when they're finally alone? Flustered, she denies it, then blushes and admits she's been waiting for this too. Hercules smirks, so that's why she went skimpy. He still remembers her blushing hard in that maid outfit. Carolina Galionis pulls it close and admits it's true. She's his girl, right? Giving gifts to the one you love is normal. Is that weird? Hercules leaps into her arms, yelling that everything's fine. He hugs her, asking for a second date. She smiles, promising the rose garden and chariot races next month. Their adventure is just beginning. Carolina Galionis is annoyed he can't ditch his duties with a month of meetings ahead, but Hercules snaps that he already knows. Since his father's era, the empire's barely stronger, and massive problems still remain. He needs to forge alliances, hire generals, and rebuild the army while tackling hunger, jobs, and chaos in the annexed lands. Settling the East and West takes too long. He wonders if he'll live long enough to finish the job. Carolina's certain Hercules will win, he's already proven his worth. Carolina promises to always listen. Silence falls as they lock eyes. He thanks her in advance, but she's completely lost and asks what he means. Hercules brushes her hair back and proposes. She panics, completely speechless. Hercules stands, grabs grapes and twists a twig into a ring, sliding it onto her finger. Hercules confesses and proposes, vowing to build the nation's future together. Overwhelmed, she tearfully accepts. Meet the emperor who revived Lemuria, snatching it from the same abyss that devoured 3 whole continents. Hercules, the first emperor of divine light. He conquered 3 continents and his legend continues today.